Hello, listeners. Welcome to the end of the world. I'm Elysia. This is the We'll Shift Us podcast. And if you will please line up 2 by 2 by country, we will say farewell with episode 9 of season 3 of Silo on Apple TV.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
Do you feel fine?
Sorry?
Do you feel fine?
Well, no, not really. Not after this week. Poor Bernard. And I'm Luke, turning my tinfoil hat theories that have not turned out as well as I expected into a tinfoil horse, so I can get back on that horse and produce yet more tinfoil hat theories.
Right back in that tinfoil saddle.
Exactly.
I have a tinfoil hat theory for this one that it's probably nothing, but we'll talk about it when I get there.
I saw it in the episode notes, and I like the way you're thinking.
Just out there, just way out there.
Way out there.
It's out there as far as the time where I was like, well, what if Harwood was actually Knox's dad? But of course he's not, and I knew he wasn't when I said it. Anyway, Silosins and other friends, the silos are now officially open, and it's nice and non-radioactive inside. But before we continue, Luke, what is our spoiler policy for this podcast?
So, the discussion will be spoiler-free beyond what has already aired, so full spoilers through episode 9 of season 3 of Silo. Elysia has read the books, but I'm keeping it show only. Elysia can bring up anything from the books that's already happened on screen, but to protect my and your book innocence, there will be no future book spoilers, except we are allowed to discuss the new in-show universe short story The Mystery of the Pez by Robert Sims. See our separate bonus episode breakdown of that surprise Apple Books short story from a few weeks ago.
And as always, this show leaves lots of room for speculation for even book readers. So I promise all my speculation here is genuine. I was accused again this week of teasing too much. But actually, the thing that I was accused of teasing of was misleading.
So, you were tricksing.
I was tricksing. So don't worry. I'm doing my best not to spoil and leave full reign for all of the tinfoiliest of hat theories for Luke and listeners at home, and throwing in my own because there's a lot of stuff I just don't know. But if you do want the full book spoiler discussion and deep dives into the intricacies of the book version of this story, I have a separate book club podcast with fellow reader Abby. We do extra weekly episodes. Stick around until the end of the episode to learn more about that. But we are getting into now season 3, episode 9 of Silo, Farewell, 62 minutes long. So the 1 minute longer trend is broken. I looked at the finale this time because people will be able to see the runtime when this is released on Apple. And so the finale is only 61 minutes. So this is actually the longest episode of the season.
Okay.
Which is fair. Full 5-minute jump up from the last one, I think it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, this episode is released Friday, August 28th, 2026 on Apple TV, directed again by Amber Templemore, who also did last week's episode, also directed the finale, also directed a number of other episodes in seasons 1 and 2. See our previous episodes where we talked more about that. And the writer this time was Jeffrey Wang, who was credited for co-writing season 1, episode 8, Hannah, and solo writing season 2, episode 6, Barricades. All of this is, of course, based on the series of Silo books by Hugh Howey, the main trilogy being Wool, Shift, and Dust. And the plot of this week's episode is Camille's announcement shakes the entire Silo. Daniel and Helen attend a special event. I see what you did there, IMDb.
I see what you did there, IMDb.
Well, it's probably from Apple, actually, that description. So, Luke, what did you think overall about this episode?
Okay, so after I first watched this episode, I WhatsApped you. That episode has melted my brain. And that's still very much my reaction. I think this is one of those episodes where the show fundamentally zigs. Like the whole show feels like it's going in a different direction after this week. I think you can start to see, and I hope we get more of this in the finale, how the two timelines are going to intersect with each other,
Mm-hmm.
because now in the present day, or in the flashbacks, however you want to think about it, we are now going to be in the silos. We're going to be discovering how the silos ran when they were first populated. I think we're going to see more about how the forgetting drug works. Um, I am fascinated to see what's going to happen with to Daniel and Helen, with them
Mm.
being in different silos. Um, Obviously, I want to know what Nox and the other Salvengers are up to,
Mm-hmm.
and what exactly it was that they blew up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ugh. I mean, I hope it's not a pipe and just spewing poison
Yeah, I
everywhere.
hope
I
it's not
still don't
spew.
understand that plan. Especially after you heard that Jimmy's mom sealed herself in. At the very least, don't kill everybody. What are we doing? Anyway, so
Also, I'm going to throw this out for the feedback episode. So if people want to get on the Discord or Blue Sky us or email us, we're going to have to retire the Sims Nerd scale.
yeah, I actually brought that up
Yeah.
on the second breakfast episode that's coming out later this week for Lorehound subscribers. I said, yeah, that you and I have retired the Simsnard scaled after this. Like, it's always there in our heart. We know what it means, but I don't know. Maybe we should implement Phenomena's Pez scale.
Yeah,
Like,
it just doesn't work. So I think for the feedback episode we've got coming up after the season finale, we need nominations on what we can rechristen the
okay,
Simsnard scale.
okay.
I've got a suggestion. I'm just throwing it out there. What
Hmm.
about the Camille Continuum?
I like the alliteration, but I want to see where the season ends before I decide that she is on any end of it.
Okay.
Because I'm still skeptical. Although this episode obviously gave me a lot more reason to doubt Camille.
Yeah, no, I think if she's not Breaking Bad, she's doing a very good impression of somebody that's Breaking
Yeah,
Bad.
it's all for the cameras. I believe in you, Camille. Yeah. I mean, this one we were teased the entire season by Graham Yost, by Hugh Howey, that nine and by the cast, that 9 and 10 are really, it's I talked about the Sander Lanch, it's the Silo Lanch, it's we know the ends of the seasons are where all these pieces fall into place. And so we saw a lot of these pieces fall into place here. My only gripe about this episode is that there was no Silo 17. I was so enjoying that.
Yeah, like we need to know what's going on with everybody, and we need to know were they able to communicate back what Jimmy's mum had
Yeah, they
done?
did. No, they
Okay.
did do that because in the last episode, somebody said, like, Lucas said this.
Oh, okay.
So they do have radio contact between them at least. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot going on in the finale. I hope that there is room for at least a check in on. I was hoping for more progress on the Silo 17 story, but a couple episodes ago, I gave up on this season ending where I thought it was going to in that part of the timeline.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, yeah, what is going to happen. And I'll say so for this episode, I've known all season that the ninth episode was called Farewell. And based on it being the ninth episode and based on the title, I very much expected the second part of this episode, the before times part of this episode. I'll say that is one of the closest book adaptations that we've gotten yet in this show, this episode. But the Silo 18 part of the story, well, Bernard's already dead in the book by this point. The whole pipe thing is based, I know what it's based on, but it is a new plot line. I think because they probably have to do certain stories differently for logistical reasons. um, so yeah, that part's all new to me. So it was like a weird mix for the first half. I was like, I have no idea where this is going or what's happening with this whole Bernard story. And then the second half, I'm like, oh shit,
Oh,
here we go.
I know exactly where this is going, and
Yay, nuclear bomb. I know. Yeah. I'll say as a lot of people though, I did not predict because I watched this episode before people started predicting this, but like Abby on the spoiler cast and a couple people in the Discord predicted based on the way the last episode ended on Bernard's face. They're like, he's going to sacrifice himself this episode. It was like, oh, well, there you go.
Yep.
We'll talk about that more, obviously, because I know some people have mixed feelings about it, but a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's a good end to his arc." Because again, he's already dead in the books. um, I mean, I am curious that. So I knew there was going to be this big nuclear explosion, but I was curious, Luke, how you felt about that happening after last week was all nano talk.
I mean, I think I've said in previous seasons that I kind of hoped it wasn't going to be a nuclear apocalypse. But my objection to that was that they wouldn't have time after the bombs had dropped to build the silo and move everybody underground. This kind of very neatly sidesteps that by having the silos built before the bombs go off. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't mind it. I don't mind it as a mechanism for getting people into the silos. Um, and also, I think what this does is kind of answer the question of um how, if there are 50 silos and 10,000 people in each silo, give or take, how did you move 500,000 people into the silos? The answer is you didn't. The silos must have filled up over time.
No, I think the implication is that there was that many people, because there was that whole thing about because there's 100 people who were living there already. The people who had been living there a year that they were basically acting as the tour guides here, and
Yeah.
then there were all these people who were on the tours. And there was that whole lottery thing, and millions of people applied and they got them. I think just for practical reasons, we didn't see 500,000 people.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that they did things like that whole thing where they're like, oh, everyone's inside eating dinner now. Like that's a
Yeah.
convenient reason to only have a few hundred extras or whatever.
Okay. Because I took it that the lottery winners hadn't turned up yet. But okay, your way actually makes more sense. And yeah, I get that you can't actually show like 500,000 people convincingly on screen.
No,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, I was like, oh, it's fewer people than I expected. But then I was like, you know what? This is fair. And then when they
Yeah,
did
this is
show,
at the end of the day, it is a TV show. It is bounded by the laws of physics at the end of the
right,
day.
and budget and yeah. But yeah, when they did like the big overhead shots, then they could do more like CGI people on the paths and stuff. But then when they were actually like with the people, they're like, well, it's tour groups that are taking tours in different turns. So yeah. So yeah, as I said, the latter part does as closely resemble the source material as anything in this show. It's one of the closest adaptations, but there are still some big differences. So I will shout out the biggest ones as we go. But there's some things that I've been holding back all season that I now feel freer to talk about, including let's start with in the books, Daniel and Helen are married at the beginning of the book. So
Oh, okay.
and there's actually a love triangle of sorts because Daniel's ex girlfriend from college is his old family friend, Anna Thurman.
Oh, yeah, no,
So, yeah.
oh no, they changed that fundamentally.
Yeah, so that's why when Anna and Charlotte were making eyes at each other, all the book readers were like, what does that mean? But I really like this version of Helen so much more than book Helen. Book Helen, I would call her as a character description, wife.
Okay.
And her role is often to nag Donald about, he's working with, so Donald is working on this project throughout the entire project. He just doesn't know everything about it. He thinks he's designing one silo, doesn't realize it's being copied 50 times. There's just a lot of details he doesn't know that other people around him know more about. But yeah, so Helen's brought into it basically because she is his wife, brought into she's there present also, like this episode, on the day things go down.
So is she not a reporter in the book then?
She's not. She has a job, but I cannot for the life of me think of it or find it in the books if it's ever defined exactly what it is. She's a professional of some sort. But she's often nagging about Anna, or nagging about his working, or like undermining him as an architect and stuff. I'm like, geez, Helen's a bummer. I kind of want him to be with Anna. But here, when I knew the bomb was going to go off and they were going to be next to different silos. I knew that was going to happen, but I was still like, no.
Man, my brain just exploded at that point. Like, rather like the nuclear bomb, actually.
Yeah.
No! But yeah, no. I mean, obviously I haven't read the book, but this sounds a lot more. It sounds like a much stronger narrative in the show than it does in the book.
Yeah, for Donald and Helen, I would say obviously, they complement each other well, because there's definitely things the book does better. Like some people are like, well, Donald's not doing enough congressman-y stuff. I'm like, well, you definitely get more of that in the books, more of him working on the project in the books than you do in the show. But yeah, they each have their different strengths.
Cool.
So before we get into this episode, though, there is one point from a previous episode, from the last episode, actually, that I wanted to bring up, because we got an email from Elon D, who says, "Hi, Elysia and Luke. Love the podcast and your great insight and rapport. Thank you. I hope I didn't miss it in the last episode, but there was a part of the show that went completely over my wife's and my head, and that I assured her I'd understand after listening to you, smiley face. Who is Ralph Melby? There are a couple staircase scenes after the pregnancy discussion that were fast and oblique that I need broken down. Did you discuss this in the episode and I missed it? If not, any chance of an explanation in a mailbag or mini episode?" I'll say we'll address that right now. I did mention it. I kind of just breezed over it in one of the recaps when I was talking about Juliet and Shirley walking down the stairs, but I'm sure we didn't go back to it or discuss it in more depth. So I'm sure you're not the only person who's struggling to remember the significance of Ralph Melby, Elon. So, Luke, do you remember this, or do you want me to field
No,
this
I
one?
think if you want to deal with this, because I was in rather the same boat as Elon, to be honest.
Okay. So this Melby incident comes from season 1, episode 5, the one called "The Janitor's Boy." And in this episode, at this point, Juliet is sheriff, and Sandy is working in the sheriff's office, and they're not getting along, Juliet and Sandy. But Sandy comes to Juliet. This is right after Marnes has been killed. And Sandy says there's something fishy about Marnes' death, and I don't trust how Judicial is handling it. I want you and your deputy Billings to take special, pay special attention to this and investigate what Judicial's doing. She's like, I think Judicial's up to no good. And so, yeah, it turns out Judicial was indeed playing games about trying, because we know now the real killer of Marnes was clearly, was ordered by Sims and Bernard via Sims. But so they set out some decoys from Juliet to distract her from that. So Patrick Kennedy, this is how we first met Patrick Kennedy, is he was someone who had a grudge against Marnes because Marnes got his wife Doris in trouble, and this is part of what led to her death. And so Trumbull tried to frame Patrick Kennedy, but didn't realize that Patrick Kennedy had been moved to a new apartment after his wife's death. So he was planting evidence in the wrong apartment. And Juliet's like, that's weird. And then they tried to throw another distraction her way, which was just basically name dropping another low level criminal with a grudge against Marnes by the name of Ralph Melby. And so basically, the reason why Sandy brought that up in the last episode was it was a secret code to Juliet and she had to hope that Juliet would remember it because of Juliet's memory problems. But apparently, yeah, she was able to fish that out of her memory. Great. And it was her code to Juliet to say, like, listen, I've been caught. Judicial is up to its nonsense again. Don't trust Judicial. And it was letting Juliet know that Sandy was in trouble and that they were probably going to be coming after Juliet next. And so this gave Juliet the chance to shoo off Shirley, which I suspect allowed her to do something in the background that we might find out about in the season finale.
Yeah, just to clarify, Trumbull was one of the judicial goons, wasn't he?
Right.
That helped Amundsen, sort of dispose of Jones's
Right.
body.
That was
Yeah.
the one that Trumbull was the one that Sims pushed off the rail.
Yes, he's the one that. Yeah, he's the one that Sims sort of swore in as his shadow, and then immediately pushed him over the stairs. Pushed him off the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a kind of deep cut reference in that last episode. I'm sorry that I didn't dive more into it in the episode 8 breakdown, but I hope this is helpful. Luke, what code name would you use to tell me that you were in trouble?
Oh, Danny Bly, after you've been pining for Danny to turn up for so long, it would have to be Danny Bly.
Then that's how I know that somebody's missing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think if I said something like it might be like a whole code phrase, like if I'm like Simsnard is evil, like, oh no, she's being held hostage because Elysia believes in a redemption arc.
Okay, right. That's my signal to call the police.
Right. Oh, all right. Let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to be getting into the episode itself. Be right back.
Your regularly scheduled breakdown will begin in 3, 2, 1.
So this episode is actually quite linear, so we'll pretty much just go through it in order, starting, of course, with Silo 18, with Bernard is risen. Former mayor and head of IT, Bernard Holland, Tim Robbins, trudges to the top of the silo to announce himself alive and turn himself in to current head of IT, Camille Sims, Alexandria Riley. The two enter the vault together to talk to the voice, and Bernard tells the voice he's reemerged from hiding due to the release of the memory drugs in the water and the arrest of current mayor Juliet Nichols, Rebecca Ferguson. He asks both decisions to be reversed in exchange for the gift of narrative, someone to blame and publicly punish for all the recent strife in an effort to pull the silo back together against a common enemy and prevent another rebellion. He tells Camille to tell the silo that he killed Judge Meadows last season and ordered the deaths of Johns and Marnes and lied about Juliet asking to go outside in season 1. All true crimes for which Bernard is now eager to take the blame. Bernard asks to be rehabilitated, which he argues will show Camille to be a merciful leader. But he knows that once the algorithm runs the numbers, he will be sent outside, with all other requests ignored. After they exit the vault, Bernard and Camille compare notes on their observations of the voice, pointing out the human characteristics that peek through the unaltered tech facade. The next morning, Camille makes a silo-wide announcement about Bernard resurfacing and his impending cleaning. He will be sent out at noon that day, and Silazans are encouraged to attend the viewing in their nearest cafeteria.
And to be courteous to each other on the stairs.
Yeah,
which I thought was a nice touch.
It's going to be a festival day.
Yeah,
it's a good old execution day.
Yeah, exactly.
Good old hanging.
Yeah.
So I didn't appreciate the opening shot was we saw Aussie, played by Michael Eunice, straining to lift someone across the gap. And then we see it's Bernard. And so that's like a payoff to that 250-pound setup that we got from Martha from early in the season, which is, I looked it up, 113 kilograms for anyone that helps. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
And so he's charged double. And it would have been triple if he found out he was carrying tools. I wonder how many people Aussie has to lift across the gap.
Quite a few, I would imagine.
Yeah. It was fun to see Aussie's and others' reactions to seeing Bernard back from the dead. It was like the viewers at the end of episode 4. Whoa. Um, but yeah, I were you surprised that Bernard could make that big walk?
Yeah, yeah, he's clearly recovered. He's clearly recovered quite well. You know what I was thinking throughout this entire all these scenes. Well, I mentioned on the pod before that I'm working my way through Moby Dick, and Tim Robbins would make a hell of a good Captain Ahab.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah, no, he would absolutely kill Captain Ahab. Um,
I thought that was Moby Dick's job. No, just sorry, just kidding.
Wait. Um, yeah, I do like the fact that, as you note here, Bernard remembers everybody's name. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a nice way of subtly reminding the audience that he knew everything that was going on in the silo.
Mm-hmm.
That and that having that level of control and that level of knowledge was something he dedicated his entire life to.
Yeah.
And like so when he says hello to the two judicial goons, you know, he probably knew them from when they were shadows to previous set of judicial
Mm-hmm.
goons. He may well have recruited them into judicial in the first place, or
Mm-hmm.
at least had a hand in recruiting them into judicial in the first place. And I just think that's the show just subtly reminding the audience who Bernard Holland was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to shout out the two judicial goons, since he does address them both by name, and one of them is addressed again later by name. So maybe they'll turn up again. But so their names are Chad, played by Tom Cox, and Joe, played by Leah Gorish, or Gorish. But anyway, they have been around. Actually, both of them first turned up in season 2. So I don't call out obviously everyone in the background, but the first time we saw Joe, the woman, was in episode 5 of last season, Descent, when she was one of the people who escorted Papa Nichols to see Bernard when Bernard gave when Dr. Nichols Juliet's belongings back.
Okay.
And then she also turned up in the season 2 finale, and also, yeah, both of them turned up in this season in episodes 5 and 6. So they've been in the judicial goonery in the background. And so Chad, in addition to 5 and 6 of this season, he was first introduced in episode 6 of season 2, Barricades, when he's the one that, when Kathleen and Papa Nichols were trying to get down to the down deep, and Kathleen kind of like fast talked their way through by like babies, woman stuff. And he's like, go. But you might not be able to get back. So that was that guy. So just because they're both shouted out by name, maybe they will have a significant moment in the
Yeah.
finale or beyond. Yeah, I thought it was funny. Bernard shows up at the top. He says, I'm guessing she's expecting me, because he knows full well that she's been able to see him coming on the camera the whole way.
Yeah.
And probably that the voice woke her up to be like, he's coming.
Yeah, it was buzzing. Yeah.
I like, he knows, we're reminded again that like one thing he understands as you know, the longest running head of IT that we know of, is the central role of narrative in life, in silo life. In this case, this is a theme that keeps coming back. And so he tells Camille, word has spread out of mechanical that you brainwashed Juliet. Like, oh really, Bernard? How did word spread out of the place that you were nested in the middle of? Yeah. And then later on, he calls out Camille, you know, when she's shaming him for his past behavior. He was like, I was following orders just like you are. Like, he's like, don't think you're better than me, because you were actively doing the thing that I've stopped doing.
And he's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, obviously the voice. Do you think the voice underestimated Bernard? Because the voice seems to think Bernard was like, oh, you got me. And Bernard did some good acting though.
Yeah, he did. But this brings me back to an issue I had this episode and also the previous episode, which is, what is the voice waiting for in regards to the safeguard? I mean, surely it's time for it to push the button.
Well, I mean, we'll come back to the big questions, but why would it want to, as Juliet asks later on, if the founders claim to care, why would they want to kill an entire silo in the first place?
Yeah, but the safeguard is there for when the pact fails, the order fails, nothing else is left. Like I don't know what more evidence the voice needs that it's no longer in control of the situation in Silo 18.
I mean, yeah, we don't know yet the nature of the voice or anything like that. But if I were just to put myself as because obviously there's a lot of talk about speculation there's humans behind the voice. If I were a human behind the voice, I would do everything in my power to avoid genocide. And in the why, like, what is the fear if the voice allows, Silo 18 obviously not doing great in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. But what is the danger that the voice would what is the voice actually trying to stop? Because it's clearly not an internal implosion, because that they would speed that along. So,
I assume it's the danger of the citizens of any silo, not just Silo 18, finding out the answer to the question that's in that little homily that they give when somebody goes out to clean. Why the world is the way it is, why they're in the silo. But we do know that the voices collectively are willing to commit genocide because they did it in Silo 17.
they did it in Silo 17, yeah, and that's the question: is
Yeah.
what is that line? Because even if they found out, the origins of the silos, what who could do what with that information?
Yeah, well, like, what difference would that? Yeah, this is where I come back to, like, what is it they're actually? Because that's my working theory at the moment, but I'm not very satisfied with it for precisely the reason you just said, which is, well, okay, if they found out the truth, so what? It doesn't actually change it. It doesn't actually change anything. The outside is still uninhabitable.
Mm-hmm.
So what would it actually change? So that's the best I can do at the moment, but I'm not very happy with it as a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. But the voice is definitely underestimating Bernard, if it thinks that he wouldn't have anticipated not getting what he's asking for. Like,
And this is the thing: the voice spent a lot of time in Bernard's company. Like
mhm.
it is strange that you know, it of all entities should underestimate Bernard. It probably knows him better than anybody apart from Mary Meadows.
Well, this is also why Bernard starts questioning. He says to the voice, "You're not omniscient, are you? If you were actually omniscient, you wouldn't have led us here to begin with. You wouldn't need to erase everyone's memories or kill so many." So I wondered if he was doing this to plant the seeds of doubt in Camille. But then when they go out in the hall, he and Camille talk more about this. And he says, "It's been the same voice the entire time I served, but I've never heard it end a conversation like that. Have you?" Which is basically like, "Goodbye, Bernard." And Camille's like, "No, but I don't provoke it." And he's like, "Exactly. It wanted to stop talking because of annoyance, frustration, and anger. Rather unmachine like characteristics, wouldn't you say?" So it's the implication that there's a human something behind it. And Camille's like, "Oh yeah, it was extra empathetic to me that one time." But I'll say that empathy, I keep calling it a script because it reminds me of, you can talk to AI therapists online these days, and that's exactly the sort of thing that it would say to you. Um, but so the conversation goes, how would it be possible someone whose voice hasn't changed all these years and is always available to talk, and same voice, perhaps not the same person? And I don't know if you noticed, at the end of the episode, when they were being ushered back into the silos, it was the same voice over
It
the
was.
loudspeakers
It
saying, like,
was.
"Please enter the nearest silo."
So my idea that it was something to do with Daniel is yet another tinfoil hat theory that bit the dust.
It does sound a bit like him, to be honest. So
It
I
does.
understand that. I understand that. um, but yeah, so So there's this voice they keep implying might have humanity behind it, might be the same voice but not the same person. We had some speculation from previous feedback, like that we, I think even in the last episode, am I right, we're talking about that there could be, yeah, like a call center situation.
Well, this is where I'm going to get back on the tinfoil
Okay,
horse.
do it.
Because why does it have to be a person or a machine?
Mm,
Why can it not be a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B?
sure, say more.
Well, if this is a massive social experiment, and if Per Stenson is at the heart of it, both of those things are looking increasingly likely, then Per Stenson would want to see the outcome of his grand experiment. So obviously he can't live 400 years, but you're not telling me that somebody with Stenson's wealth and interests wasn't interested in seeing if he could become quote unquote immortal.
Mm,
So what if this is an algorithm or a machine, but what if it's Per Stenson's consciousness uploaded
okay.
to some sort of cloud-based thing. So it's not a person, but it's also not a machine.
Kind of like
It,
the AI from Beacon 23, the show.
exactly.
Hmm. Um, I want to ask you about another part of something you just said. You said you think it looks increasingly like a social experiment. Can I ask why that? I mean, why? What role do you think like that nuclear bomb plays in that? And if that's the case.
I go back to what Stenson said last episode about the world essentially being doomed.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not nanos, it's going to be something else. If it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, what if Per Stenson actually believes that
Mm-hmm.
and he's the richest man in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Why not bring on the apocalypse, but do it on your own terms?
Okay.
And I think I understand now why the pack doesn't allow magnification. Because I think what Stenson is doing is he wants to reset the human race with a certain level of technology so
Hmm.
that when they do eventually emerge from the silos, they're not having to deal with the kind of quote unquote threats that Stenson was describing in that over dinner.
Okay.
He's trying to cap the level of like human technological progress.
Which I think they would just redevelop it again. But yeah, okay. And so, what do you think the social experiment part is then?
Well, basic social experiment might be the wrong way of putting it, but basically seeing whether the human race can survive for 500 years and whether Stenson can twist it into his better version of a humanity, his version of a humanity that doesn't have to deal with all the stuff he outlined last episode.
Hmm. Um, so just a small sidestep, that this whole 500 years thing, that is the same as a book, but it was noticeable that the light bulbs, they said it's been 350 years in the system, and there were
Yeah, and
only
they had
50
another
years,
70 years left.
50 years by, it was 70 years, 20 years ago.
So yeah, we know that Silo 18 is 350 years ahead of when the Daniel and Helen story is supposed to be happening. And Carla says they had 70 years of light bulbs, 70 years worth of light bulbs left. So that doesn't get you to 500 years. It gets you close, but it doesn't get you to 500.
Yeah. So the question is, yeah, what's with the discrepancy? Was there theft before that? Yeah, what's the deal?
Oh, somebody on Blue Sky did like a version of the reading before they go out to clean with the light bulbs that I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, we don't know
Yeah,
why
we
the
don't
light
know.
bulbs.
We
Wait,
only
hold on,
know
I
the
got it.
light bulbs aren't here.
Wait, let's give credit where due. Um, it was a young list mastiff. Said, we do not know why the light bulbs were taken. We do not know who took the light bulbs. We do not know where the light bulbs are. We do not know whether we will find the light bulbs. We only know that the light bulbs are no longer there. Yeah.
And actually, we still don't have an answer for that. Well, we do. We haven't seen the light. We haven't seen the light bulbs being returned yet.
No, I think that yeah, we're gonna get our silo lunch in the last episode with a lot
Yeah.
of answers to these questions that are all gonna fall together, hopefully. But yeah, okay. As far as going back to the conversation between Bernard, Camille, and the voice, is in okay in my Camille Defense Squad. I'll say she did look upset about the outcome of Bernard being sent out to clean and Juliet staying locked up, which also means her husband staying locked up, I guess, and then of course especially the D plus staying in the water. So I mean, I think she's having feelings about it. She's not just like relishing the power. She's not having a good time with this position, I'll say.
No, and I will say, like her default expression in this episode, for obvious reasons, was "I am upset."
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So could she be playing the voice? Could she be working both sides against the middle? Yeah, possibly.
Mm. The voice says Bernard remains deeply unpopular with 89% of the population, but I mean, like, that's something you can flip on a dime. Superman did a good job of showing how people will just like decide. I mean, we've seen also with the redemption arcs of with Bernard and Sims and how their characters act toward them. Like, there's redemption is possible. And I was totally with Bernard when he was telling the voice. He said, "You're missing something. People want redemption stories." And to quote, "Redemption is the commonality in all the great myths, the major religions." Although I have to note that the major religions and great myths also include a lot, perhaps more brutal punishments than redemption arcs.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's you're slightly boiling things down there, Bernard. But we get where you're coming from.
no, you're coming from a good place. I'm with you. Yeah, the power of a redemption arc as the myth to inspire people. Yes, let's do that. Silo, do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then Bernard is really putting on his show. Like, I guess as a former head of IT, he had to do a lot of acting. So he really is like acting for the voice. You're going to take everything from me after all after I've given my life to you. And I'm sure he means that. But then also, as soon as they walk out in the hallway, um, Camille says, "Did that turn out the way you expected?" And he's like, "Yes." Yeah. And then Bernard, what do you think about like the argument? Bernard says the one thing about a person can be defeated. I'm like, well, a machine can be defeated too.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I was thinking that. So can a machine, Bernard, but
whatever.
yeah.
Whatever. All right. Let's do a quick interlude. Billings' lifty little secret. Sheriff Paul Billings, Chinaza Uche, has conflicted feelings after hearing the announcement about Bernard's cleaning. But Deputy Hank Murphy, Billy Postlethwaite, asks him for a moment of his time before he runs upstairs. Hank takes Paul to Martha's workshop to meet with the remaining Silo Vengers. Martha Walker, Harriet Walter herself, her wife, Carla McLean, Claire Perkins, head of mechanical Deegan Nux, Shane McRae, his pregnant, unsanctioned partner, Shirley Campbell, Remy Milner, and fellow mechanical and known shitster Teddy Olatunje Aofi. They fill Billings in on the safeguard pipe situation, explaining that Bernard offered himself up as a distraction so that they could see the Kappa pipe plan through. Knox thinks something Billings discovered is the key to their plan: the elevator. The hope is that will help them sneak into water filtration on level 55. Later, we see Billings, Hank, and an excited Teddy and a nauseated Papa Gus Knox, William Hope, the elevator's engineer, riding the machine up. So, yeah, it was a brief Silo Avengers moment, but now finally Billings is caught up to speed.
Yeah.
What did you think about the fact that Knox and Carla didn't tell Martha what Billings discovered, nor did Knox tell Shirley?
Clear communication, people. Clear communication. Um,
Yeah, but where does that sit in the balance of like Knox is like, this is too big of a violation of the pact for me to just go around saying something. And Carla says it was not my calls, like not my secret to tell, basically.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think you raise a good question in the show notes. So Harwood tunneled into the mines to create the elevator shaft.
Yeah, it seems like that was definitely, now that we got a better look at the elevator setup, it seems to definitely be in the mines rather than in the silo within the, walls of the silo, which
Yeah,
I guess makes sense.
it's definitely worrying me the amount of digging that's going on this season. Like they need to be careful with the amount of digging and the amount of explosions. Like they need to be careful. They're like literally undermining the structural integrity of the silo there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it almost seemed like the last explosions were to undermine the structural integrity of the silo, but why would
Yeah.
they want to do that? Why would they want to do that? Where will you go? 17 is too far. You only have
You
6
won't.
suits.
Yeah, you won't make it.
um, I like the tidbit that Papa Knox was shit faced when he designed the elevator and never wrote it. So I do wonder, though, what has Papa Knox been up to the last 2 years?
Uh, I would imagine he's been shit faced quite a lot of the time, to be
Maybe
honest.
making, yeah, maybe making like moonshine or something.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick pause here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some cellmates in their various prisons. Be right back. All right, Mayor Juliet and Judge Robert Sims, Common, are locked up together in judicial seclusion à deux. Once Juliet gives up on breaking out through the door, she and Sims have nothing but time to kill. They sit silently, throwing pebbles down a drain until Juliet is collected and brought to Camille. They share a drink as they talk, Camille filling Juliet in on some of Bernard's anti-rebellion shenanigans while Juliet was away in Silo 17, like the time he tried to starve the Down Deepers and even had their existing food poisoned. Haha, good times. As well as Camille's role in helping the rebels move up the barricades so that they could reclaim a farm, and her husband's role in turning the deputies of the silo against Bernard. And Camille updates Juliet on Bernard's surrender and impending cleaning, over which Juliet is expected to preside as mayor. Camille says she wants to work together. Juliet confronts her about the consequences coming of putting the forget drug in the water, and Camille says she wants to smooth through that process of transition by having Juliet and a member of each department hold on to their memories until they've retrained their departments, and then take the forgetting drug themselves, with Juliet as the last to do so, and Camille the only one to hold on to her memories. Camille later admits Juliet's value is that people will follow her, but Juliet says she's not going to help, and she knows she would be killed even if she did. Camille agrees that she would kill Juliet because Juliet doesn't ever quit. But in exchange for Juliet's death, everyone else would live and remember Juliet as a hero, to which Juliet gives a friendly, fuck you very much kind of hell no to that. So, Camille and Juliet, not the allies I might have hoped for going into this season.
Well, maybe. I just wondered with Camille recounting the story of season 2 and the rebellion to Juliet. Was that might be Camille trying to tell Juliet something?
Like what?
I'm still on your side. We worked together before.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
read between the lines, Juliet.
I was thinking that arguably Bernard starving the Down Deepers, he did that for more selfless reasons than Camille helping the rebels.
Mm.
And Juliet does see through this right away as soon as Camille's like, "Oh, I helped your people." And Juliet's like, "I'm sure you had your reasons." It's not exactly a thank you. And Camille says she did it because she couldn't trust Bernard anymore. Do we believe her on that?
Sort of. I think it was more that we don't know. the Simses, Robert and Camille, don't know how this rebellion is going to play out, so let's make sure we've got a foot in both camps.
Yeah, that is how I read it too, and maybe like not trusting Bernard to have their backs, the Simses, more
Yeah.
than anything else. I did read it as, I mean, I do think in Camille, even as much as I like her as a character, and I've liked her as a character since she was introduced, I have always read her as someone who was more focused, until this season at least, more focused on the advancement, personal advancement of herself and her family. And now this season, with this, being coming the head of IT, she's suddenly thrown into the deep end and realizes the stakes are so much bigger. And so I do think that her goals have gotten bigger. But at the time, I don't think she was thinking about the overall well-being of the silo, because I don't think she understood that that was really at risk.
Yeah, I think that's true. And also this is the irony. In season 1 and 2, Camille was trying to gain more power and influence. Now she's got all the power she could want, but absolutely no choices. She can't use that power. She's actually, she's reached as high as a human can reach in the silo within the system,
Hmm.
but she's still subordinate to the voice.
Yeah,
And there's no way around that.
no, that's true.
So it's one of those be careful what you wish for things. Because in a way, Camille has gotten everything she ever wanted.
Yep. Yeah. And, and then this whole memory thing comes up again, obviously. And so this TV show version of the memory thing does again sound way more dramatic than I was picturing, where children starve to death because their parents forgot to feed them. Like they forgot they had babies, I guess. Like just
Yeah,
forgot.
like who
Like,
are
did
these?
they cry or?
Yeah, who are these children that are sitting in my apartment?
Yeah, but I would just be like, oh, these must be my kids, feed them. And that's like the implication that smooths through the transitions, because a lot of memory is situational, like I wake up in my apartment and I'm like, oh yes, this is my apartment. Um,
But
yeah.
that exchange did answer a question that I
Mhm.
posed, I think,
Yeah.
3 episodes ago, which
Hmm.
is how would you actually manage? How would you actually like practically manage the entire silo collectively losing its memory? Like, what would happen if they had a mechanical just forgot how the generator worked? And I think that is actually they've actually come up with a pretty decent answer to that question, which is that the head of mechanical would be one of these 10 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still actually do prefer the explanation I gave then, which is just, the whole mechanical memory. You have manuals, you're doing it every day. It's contextual. I'm not sure how I feel, to be honest, about this, the way they're painting the forget drug, especially they did say low and slow at the beginning, but now I don't know. It seems a little inconsistent to me, this forget drug lore, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it.
And
But I did think of you when they actually, it's like, oh, she really is thinking transition plans. But then here's the thing: wouldn't such transition plans be covered in the order?
yes, they almost. I mean, I took it that preserving the 10 people. I took that as that must have come straight out of the order.
Then why didn't they do that 140 years ago, as far as they know? Or did it do nothing?
Or maybe, well, but that's the thing. It's not like those 10 people preserve their memories permanently. They just preserve them until the resets happen. So maybe it just wasn't recorded 140 years ago.
I mean, it could be. So then, yeah, they do all this, and it's just still lots of deaths and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Or maybe the order was amended because that happened.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So this goes back to the question of how many silos have undergone such a memory
Yes.
reset.
Yeah. It definitely does. By the way, we still haven't seen any evidence of the memory drugs taking effect.
We have not. We have not. I mean, granted, we haven't really seen people outside of, but no, we haven't seen like anyone, being confused or whatever
No,
for.
and I mean, okay, maybe the Silvengers are, drinking juice and milk and whiskey and whatever else.
Mhm.
But yeah, like it's I think it's interesting that they haven't shown us like a scene of the marketplace
Mm-hmm.
or a scene of like those outdoor cafeteria things or the cafeteria itself of people getting confused, of people like forgetting
Mm-hmm.
each other's names. It could
Yeah.
just be a simple conversation where like
Right.
don't two people know that they know each other but they can't remember each other's names.
Yeah. I mean, I still not 100% convinced that stuff's in the water. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, because
Yeah.
like they almost seem to be going out of their way not to show us
Yeah.
that the memory drugs are working.
But then, okay, but so even if Camille did this plan of replacements, I still don't see how this works, because how many of them who remember would tell someone before they went through the process themselves, so that they, leave their memories behind with someone else who's finished their memory process,
Yeah, or
or try
how
to prevent the process, or to fake losing their memories, or
yeah,
what?
or like you would have like multiple versions of Mission's diary as well. Because
Mm,
if I know I'm gonna have my memory wiped, I write down.
right.
I don't think I probably wouldn't tell another person because I wouldn't want to get them sent out to clean or sent to the mines. But I write it down.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And hide
Yeah,
it for myself somewhere.
yeah,
And hope I found it, I guess.
yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah. That is the problem. But yeah, I don't think I would tell another person because I think it would just be exposing them to too much risk.
yeah. And then, yeah, Camille says, I do, this is sad how she puts this in terms of what you were saying before of her getting the top dog position and realizing it sucks and it's still not top dog. And she says, I'll have my memories, but I'll be alone in that each day. Look at me. Each day until everything is reset, I'll have to remind my son who I am and hope he believes me, or that there's enough of him left to remember.
I've got to say, I love the way Alexandria Riley can like change energy like really
Mm-hmm.
quickly. She can go from really soft spoken to like
Yeah.
proper rage
Mm-hmm.
at the flick of a switch, and that's something that Camille, whoever is playing her, has to be able to do. Those quite sort of drastic changes in energy,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Alexandria Riley does it brilliantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. She does snark well. Like when Juliet comes in, she's like, "Oh, Juliet, I heard you weren't much of a drinker, so I had all your liquor stolen. Hope you don't mind." Like, but to be fair, Juliet, when she sips it, she's like, "Fucking hell, people like that." So it doesn't seem like Juliet's been drinking it anyway. I guess that
Yeah.
was the stuff left over from Mare John's, because she had the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Mayor Jones was something of a connoisseur. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then there was that deadpan exchange where neither of them even fully smiles, but she's like, no, says no to the drink at first. And so Camille's like, some water then. And like, I laughed out loud, but Julia just gave her a look. Because, of course, there's a memory drug in the water, and they both know that, or allegedly. Um,
yeah,
but then, yeah, when Juliet does ask for a drink, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But then, of course, it's a distraction, and she plucks something from a tin on Camille's desk. I spent the longest time trying to figure out that it was a paperclip, only to realize you get a perfect view of it later when Camille clocks it and has the raiders pull it off of Juliet. So paperclip taken away, but maybe she got to do something with it before that.
yeah, maybe.
Maybe. It was really nice of Juliet and the other Sims, Robert. They, basically they are mostly in the cell not talking because they both know that there's a camera on them, so they're not going to fall for that trick. And I feel like the only thing that Sims really says is directed at his wife through the camera, even though he doesn't look at a camera. He says the only way it ends differently is if my wife stops taking orders from that fucking machine screen. Um, I don't even know who she is now. That felt very pointed toward Camille. But then the rest, it's just like the two of them sitting in silence, throwing pebbles down a drain. And it's kind of the warmest interaction I've seen between them yet. Like
Yeah.
just a comfortable silence.
You know what? You know what it made me think of? It made me think of that famous scene in The Great Escape where Steve McQueen is throwing the baseball at the wall and it bounces back and he's catching it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if you're stuck in a cell, you can't talk. How do you kill the time?
How do I kill the time? Um. Ooh, good question. Good question. Like I can remember entire episodes of The Simpsons
Mm,
wrote. Like it's my superpower. I can remember Silo not particularly much. It's more stuff from when I was a kid, but I can remember whole episodes of TV shows pretty much word
hmm.
for word. So I think I'd probably do that.
I think I would write stories in my head. That's what I
Um,
do when I want to relax. Just lay down and let my mind drift through stories that I make up.
do you ever write them down?
Yeah, no, I mean I write all the every day, but when I want to relax, I just like lay on the couch and just like let my mind explore story world. Because I'm assuming in this scenario we don't have books or paper or anything like
Yeah.
that. Just a bare cell. Yeah, and Robert, he jumps to Juliet's defense there. He's like, she's still Mare Chad. And she whispers, it's okay. So it's like they're buddies now.
Yeah.
The
It's
same team.
Yeah, but before we move off this section,
Hmm.
there's something I was thinking, and I've never thought this before when it comes to Camille.
Hmm.
Do you think she might not make it through the finale? Do you think this might be building towards Camille dying?
I think there's a good chance, yeah.
Yeah, I just got the sense from this episode that she is not, and this may be me doing a Papa Nichols of like killing her off three times before she actually dies,
Yeah.
but I just got a sense that maybe her character is building towards a finale.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if we're going to lose a couple characters in the next finale. I think we might not get to the part of the story that I was expecting, or at least it will look drastically different than I expected. I don't know. Maybe they could do it in one episode, but then they also have to do the before time stuff, the no longer before time stuff.
I'm just saying they can do what they like with Camille. They touch a hair on Knox or Shirley or Down Deep Deputy Hank, I will be upset.
I think Shirley has the pregnancy plot armor now because I
Yeah,
don't see them making a character pregnant who's not pregnant in the books, by the way, just to kill her off, you know?
yeah.
So I think she is probably safe through the finale. Knox after this episode, I'm like, maybe he is because he's just like, we need that through. Maybe he does get to, I don't know. I am Knox and Hank are two of the people I'm worried about the most. Sorry.
I am just warning you. I know it's already been filmed and there's nothing you can do about it, Silo writers, but I am warning you.
Now you know how Abby felt when they killed off Papa Nichols.
There is finger pointing going
Yeah.
on here.
Yeah. Um all right. So moving on to Mechanical on the March. Camille and Juliet's conversation is interrupted by Goon in Chief Emerson, Florian Clare, who warns Camille that Knox and Shirley are leading a couple hundred people up the stairs, and a group of people on level 55 won't move. Knox and Shirley push to the front of the crowd that is waving pipes and chanting, "Let us through," into water filtration. And Knox tells Emerson that she knows what's in the water and she should step aside to keep things from getting violent. As Judicial looses their weapons, Knox turns to talk down the crowd. And just then, Camille brings Juliet, who's, again, Juliet is brought everywhere cuffed up in this. Like, they're afraid she's never, like, fought and run away except that one time when Bernard said she wanted to go outside and she didn't. Anyway, so maybe they do need to cover. But Camille's brought Juliet to confront the crowd, telling her to calm everyone or risk the lives of her friends, all of her friends. Juliet tells the crowd to put their weapons down and go home, denying that there's anything shady about the quote unquote vitamin D in the water. Knox is quick to comply, leading the crowd to shuffle off. Camille asks the guards to stay standing guard until after the cleaning, falsely assuring Emerson that what the crowd said about the water is just another down deep conspiracy theory. Camille sends Juliet, escorted by a squadron of raiders, to prep for the cleaning ceremony and asks the raiders to bring Robert Sims from his cell to their apartment. And elsewhere, the rabble-rousers and elevator crew reconvene on the stairs, allowing Knox to introduce Shirley to his deadbeat dad. And Gus says his son isn't wrong about him, but they have a job to do. So, okay. First of all, I think this group shot is where like all the people are in the background there, or I'm like, all these people are credited as being in this episode, but I don't remember them playing a role. But I did clearly see Gloria, Sophie Thompson, Kathleen Billings, Caitlin Zaz, and Regina Jackson. Some Rita Henry were there directly behind Sherlock's or Shiroxy, whichever way we're going. I also noticed the fangirls were right behind them too. So I think that pretty much everyone who's credited in this episode, not seen elsewhere, is in that crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering though, just the fact they did this whole thing, went up there, and then Knox is like, "Oh, you better let us through." No, okay, let's go. I'm like, that was a distraction, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a distraction. That was definitely a distraction.
Yeah, because Knox will punch his way into a place. He's not afraid to do that.
Yeah, and the whole thing with we just talked about with Camille. People do what you say even when they don't agree with it. I'm not sure that's what was going on, Camille. Actually,
yeah. Yeah, and then this is the question. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know if Knox is going to die in the finale. Obviously, it wasn't like the solo sacrifice like Jimmy's mom did that I was hypothesizing. But I'm like, what are we worried about Teddy going out? Are we worried about Billings? Will Hank sacrifice himself out of guilt over contributing to Papa Nichols' self-sacrifice? Who are you worried about in the finale most?
Okay,
You said Camille.
I'm worried about Camille. I am worried about Knox. I wasn't, but you've convinced me that I should.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
Let's be honest. I don't care one way or the other about Teddy. You know, he's not that big of a character. I really hope. I wasn't worried about Hank, but I am now. And yes, that would make a lot of sense from a plot point of view.
Well, I don't know if they would do Teddy because Teddy is a character who's been stepping up. Like I remember I was like, oh, they keep showing that guy, we should pay attention to him. And he's just grown more and more in presence. And I was hypothesizing if there is a new shadow to the head of Mechanical, it must be Teddy, because who else would it be?
Yeah.
So I could see if we lost Knox. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know. We might lose characters in the finale if because in the book we've lost a lot more characters than we lost in the show. But if Knox did go out, I could see Teddy being the one who's expected to like step up into that. Or yeah, Shirley as well.
Oh, Shirley. I would say
she's
Shirley.
also got her. I don't know. She's got this whole pregnancy storyline. I don't know. I'm like, where's this going other than protecting her from death?
Yeah. Yeah. I am kind of worried about Paul Billings because I kind of feel like Billings has been involved a lot this season, but I don't feel his character has grown in the same way that Knox or Shirley or Bernard or Camille or Robert Simpson. Billings just seems to be stuck in the same old doing Billings stuff kind of role.
Yeah, I am actually not worried about him for that reason right now, because it does seem like compared to prior seasons, this season he's more spinning his wheels and more just like grappling with what's gone on before, which gives me the idea that there's more character development for him, and we still haven't addressed the whole syndrome of it all and things like that. So I do think there's actually a chance that he might be off the chopping block for that reason.
Yeah, I think you might. Yeah, I think that could go one of two ways. It's either yes, there's more character development to come, or we're kind of stuck and we don't know what to do with this character.
I mean, they have to at least wrap up the storylines that they opened, and I don't see them. having the space to do that in a way that's satisfying in the last episodes, because I think they have shifted, like they shifted a lot of focus toward Bernard, for instance, because he was sacrificed this episode, so I'll say we apparently Deputy Jerry also was credited in this episode. Didn't clock him, didn't Where's Waldo him in the crowd, but I did notice he's definitely not being trusted with Juliet duty anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, obviously.
um the whole exchange though between Emerson, New Amundsen, and Camille about the water though made me wonder,
Yeah.
do we
Um,
think Emerson might turn on Camille?
I think she might, but I think that there's a bigger question there, which is will the judicial goons writ large turn on Camille? Because, they don't want to lose their memories any more than anybody else in the silo does.
Hmm.
And, at the end of the day, they are the people with the guns.
I mean, that's basically what happened at the end of season 2 with all the deputies turning on Bernard.
Yeah, but the judicial goons didn't.
No, that's
Yeah.
true. All right. Well, that brings us to the big climax of this part of the story for this episode. Bernard goes out. This is a longer story time, so snuggle up. In the Sims apartment, Robert says he knows his wife is angry with him about keeping Bernard alive. He insists he still loves his wife, but he's worried about their son. He couldn't go along with the vitamin D plus plan and doesn't regret it. Camille counters that Robert doesn't understand that his actions have put the entire silo at risk. She leaves her husband a prisoner in their apartment to be touted out for the ceremony, just like Juliet. Juliet is allowed to visit with Bernard in the holding cell, or rather, become his temporary cellmate. Camille informs them that Bernard will be sent out without a suit to take no chances, although Juliet points out it's against the pact, but Bernard assures her it's actually not. And then Camille is called away by the arrival of Billings, giving Juliet and Bernard a moment alone. Juliet gently teases him about the time he sent her out to die herself in the same way. Ha 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 ha, the good old days. And Bernard tells Juliet he turned himself in to give Walker and the Silo Vengers a distraction. Juliet thinks she's messed up the plan by having them sent away. The crowd, that is. Juliet has reached the bargaining phase on her pre-grieving, but Bernard says he's fighting on by going out, drawing all eyes to him, and the rest is up to Juliet's friends, and Bernard has learned to believe in them. His final words for Juliet are about the voice. He tells her, as he told Camille, that he no longer believes it's a machine or a higher intelligence. He thinks it's just another human on the other end of the line. He won't have the chance to kill whoever this person or persons is, but Juliet might. He says all questions really come down to just one question, which Juliet figures out is why? It's time for the ceremony, and Billings recites the words with vacant eyes as Juliet, Robert, and Camille watch on in their official capacities. Bernard declines to leave the group with any last words, though he shakes Robert's hand on his way out. Outside, Bernard takes in the open world and walks straight to the scraggly dead tree on the hill, leaning against the trunk to die, picturing leaves in the branches and a patch of sun as he passes away with a drip of blood from his nose. Everyone else watches from the cafeteria, the crowd confused that Bernard is not wearing a suit. Juliet tells Camille Bernard's last words to her, listing the questions that linger in the air, all the whys. Complacent Camille says, maybe we just aren't meant to know the answers. And then their whispered exchange is interrupted by a big boom. Camille accuses Juliet of planning this, but Juliet reminds her she's been in custody all day. We cut to Teddy drilling a hole in the roof of a mine shaft and placing dynamite, and then he, Knox, his father, Shirley, and some miners duck as an even bigger blast rocks the silo. Paul tries to calm the people in the up-top cafeteria, imploring them not to leave, and the vault key fob vibrates red, summoning Camille. She tells Juliet her friends may have just killed them all before taking off to talk to the voice. So, okay, just first of all, Camille, since we've already been talking about her, I think the worst thing maybe she said all episode was to Robert.
Oh, yeah.
Before long, all Anthony will know about you is what I tell him. Like, damn, girl. You didn't need to say that.
Or as you put it in the show notes, yikes on bikes.
Yes. Um, I mean, how do you feeling about this Bernard sacrifice redemption arc? Did this work for you? Were you emotional about
Yeah,
this?
I was, and I mean, I think Tim Robbins is obviously a fine actor, and he does get every ounce of pathos out of this scene. And I don't think I can entirely forgive Bernard everything he's done because I was just following orders
Mm-hmm.
is not a justification at the end of the day. But I think you've always got to respect somebody who can learn lessons and can be better than they were because isn't that without getting like too heavy, isn't that what we're all trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
Um so I was kind of sad that this is the last thing we'll see of Bernard. I kind of like I hope in in whatever afterlife exists in the silo, him and Mary Meadows can meet up
Oh, yeah.
and have like a moment. And I did think like the almost like father son dynamic between Robert Sims and Bernard
Yeah.
this season has been really. It's a little weird, but it's very touching.
Well, I mean, I think it makes sense. Like Bernard never had a son, so
Yeah,
Sims is probably the closest.
yeah,
Maybe he could have been Lucas in some other life, but not in this version of Silo.
yeah. Um, so yeah, like I said, I don't think I can quite forgive Bernarda's past,
Mm-hmm.
but I can respect the choices that he made, and I can sort of appreciate that at the end he decided to be a better man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a well done redemption arc because it also doesn't deny the bad things that he did. He goes to the unremembering it. Although I do keep thinking of something that Barb's 2796 said after episode 8 on Discord, where she wrote, as a psychiatrist, I think there's a lot of reasons to be worried about suicidality with Bernard, but I hope not as redemption through suicide. That really gives me the ick. I'm like, oh, I hope that this didn't give you too much of the ick barbs, but I mean, I was thinking about that. I was like, I can see why redemption through suicide is kind of a problematic trope.
Mm.
But in this, I guess I like that he gave it a go as sort of like you could redeem me, and then and he's like, no, I knew that wasn't going to work, but it was worth a shot. Like,
Yeah, and also I'm not sure I would call this suicide.
no, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly for the reason, yeah,
yeah. I get what Bob's is saying, and I
hmm
think it is a problematic trope. But I don't think they were actually using that trope. I wouldn't call what Bernard did suicide.
no, yeah, there was enough for me. There was enough to counteract that
Yeah.
interpretation for me personally. Yeah, yeah. Although this whole memory drug threat, if it does go through, it adds an extra degree of tragedy to these sacrifices because it's like, Bernard even be remembered?
Well, no, even worse than that. Like the rebels from 140 odd years ago, they're remembered or they're portrayed as the villains. Surely that's what's awaiting Bernard.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be
Hmm.
like portrayed as the ultimate villain.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing that touched me the most, probably that maybe this entire episode, was Bernard saying about Juliet's friends, the Silo Avengers. I was able to be a part of it. I've never had that in my life. Oh, Bernard,
Yeah,
my heart breaks.
he was just lonely.
Yeah. What do you think about this whole no suit thing? Like,
I would like to know, like, okay, I'll certainly take Bernard's word for it, but I would like to know how that's in line with the pact.
yeah. I mean, I guess for me, the biggest thing would be like, is Camille trying to rile people up? Because we see people are confused when they see him go out without a suit on. That certainly doesn't make Camille look good. He did last longer than I expected, given no suit.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he lasted because he got to that tree, which is more or less where Holston and Allison got to,
Yeah.
and they did have suits,
Yeah.
so
And Bernard, though, he didn't clean.
he didn't know. That's true. He just went straight forward.
Like, it didn't
So
even seem like they gave him something for the lens, so like he's not gonna do it.
they didn't even give him the wool, so he couldn't have cleaned even if he wanted to.
Yeah, they're like, we're not even pretending this is anything other than you being sentenced to death by
Yeah,
exile. Yeah. But it does, like, it feels like I can't imagine the algorithm favoring this, sending Bernard outside without cleaning, without a suit, because that's just going to rile people up inside, I would
yeah,
think. Yeah. But as far as from Bernard's perspective, if the bad air is going to get in through the bad tape and get you anyway, then might as well just go out without a suit at all and just experience outside for once.
yeah. I mean, I think if I had the option of suit, no suit, knowing what in Bernard's position, knowing what he knows, I would go with no suit because I'd at least like to feel the air on my skin.
Yeah, and that he gets to feel some tree bark against his back.
Yeah.
I mean, do we think is that tree like petrified or the tree must be dead?
Oh, yeah, that tree's long dead.
Yeah, but there's still bark on it seems. So, um how much pain do you think he was in at the end? I did notice. I tried to pay more attention in the second time, and as he's like looking out over the horizon, you start to see him wincing more, and that's when he's like,
and he's
"Okay, now I'm
coughing up
gonna lay down now." Yeah,
Yeah, and he's coughing up a little bit of blood. Well, not coughing,
Mhm.
but just sort of bleeding out his mouth and out his nose a little bit.
yeah. But yeah, he leaves us with some questions and facts. Oh, random learned fact. Apparently, he drops knowledge. He says everyone hates him, including sanctioned pets. So it's like, oh, pets need to be sanctioned too. He also says about the voice. Turns out, after all this, the wizard is nothing more than a man behind a curtain. Like he referenced Mary Meadows' favorite book, The Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
Yeah. And I kind of appreciate that, like, he said his last words to Juliet, shook Robert's hand, and everyone else, he's like, fuck you, I'm out.
yeah, peace out.
Yeah. And he says to Juliet, you are the one their numbers missed, which I think means Juliet doesn't fit neatly into the algorithm's calculations. He said, you are more than a disruptor, you are a unifier. Hope punk for the win. And these are the questions that Juliet puts in Camille's mind after Bernard's death. Why were the silos built? Do you think you have a better handle on that so far?
Well, we do know what Per Stenson's rationale for them
Right.
was.
Right.
And it turns out that it just so happened that there's apparently a nuclear apocalypse on the day they were completed.
So why did the people have to go into them? Check.
Nuclear apocalypse.
Why couldn't the silos communicate with each other? Do you have thoughts on that one?
We still don't know.
Do you have any thoughts?
No, and the more is revealed in the before times, the more confusing that becomes.
Okay.
Because, like, when I was saying before social experiment, I think I actually misspoke. It's what I think is going on is Per Stenson is trying to, like I said earlier on, Per Stenson is trying to manipulate humanity to his version of a more sustainable future. So if that's the case, I really don't see what the harm would be in allowing the silos to talk to each other. And I wonder whether next episode we'll find out that in the very early days of the silo they could.
Okay. And then that brings us to the question that we were grappling with earlier. And if the founders cared so fucking much, why would they put in a safeguard to be able to kill us? Yeah. What are your final Silo 18 thoughts for this episode? Any predictions for the finale in this part of the story?
I mean, I think this is obviously going to be addressed in the finale, but what the hell is going on with water filtration? Like, what are the Silvengers' plan here? What are they blowing
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
And please, please, please don't let it end with like the Silo 18 imploding on itself. Because people have just been fucking around digging tunnels and blowing shit up.
Yeah, after all of the threats from the voice and the algorithm, if Silo 18 just does its own self in trying to protect itself, I'm going to facepalm.
Yeah. I think clearly the voice will try and deploy the safeguard. It won't succeed because, well, that would kill off half the show. So I don't think that's going to work. But
Yeah,
I
most of
do
the
think,
show, we would just have like Lucas,
yeah,
Patrick,
Lucas, Patrick,
and Jimmy and the kids. Yeah.
Silo 17, and the before times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it will try and deploy the safeguard. It will obviously fail. I think the question then is, what happens next? Because it goes back to what Bernard was saying last episode. If the safeguard fails, will the Silazans then be able to have a proper conversation with whoever or whatever is behind the voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question. Good
Now, whether
question.
that conversation takes place in episode 10 of season 3 or episode 1 of season 4, I don't know, but I think it will be one or the other.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that we're going to probably see a few of these stories fit together. For instance, this whole light bulbs thing, like I said, this is new. It's not from the books, but I can't imagine they would spend so much time on it if it didn't play a role in the whatever reveals are coming for this part of the story. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to switch to the before times. And I think it's the last time I can call it the before times because it's just the times.
That's just going to be the times next.
Be right back. All right, baby on board. There has indeed been a time jump of several years since the before times plot of the last episode, and intrepid reporter Helen Drew, Jessica Henwick, is now heavily pregnant with former Congressman Daniel Keene, Ashley Zuckerman's child. Wait, do we think he's a former congressman or he's just relocated to Portland?
No, because he said
he's working on infrastructure projects, but as a civilian or as a government official?
I took that as being like he's the architect.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that.
So I think
engineer.
Yeah, I think he quit Congress.
He didn't like it, so
yeah. No, it wasn't doing much for him.
So they visit Helen's obstetrician, having a sonogram done before Helen and Daniel take a flight back to Georgia to visit old friends and family and attend the official opening of Stenson's Folly, the Silo System Park. So, sonogram, do you want to explain to anyone who doesn't know where this comes from? Why are we excited to see a sonogram?
So, in the short story, The Mystery of the Pez, one of the relics that gets referenced is, well, they describe it as like a photograph of a fetus inside a woman's stomach, but we know it as a sonogram.
Right. Robert says Bernard knew that word sonogram from the vault, so
yes.
The legacy, and told him the word sonogram.
Yeah. So and we know that Helen was due to tour or had toured Silo 18, so presumably that's how it got in there in the first place. So I did go ooh. I literally made a noise.
Yeah, I think I also was like, ah.
So I was ooh, and you were
ah. So I guess she just like had that with her in her purse, and obviously, I'll say there's a book difference with the whole Daniel and the project. I did already say he was on the project the whole time, which just kept more in the dark than the others. Helen was never on the project because she was character description wife. And the big difference is I did sort of allude to this at the beginning of the season, but this whole silo system was more of a political positioned thing, whereas here it's a government private industry project. But in the book, the big event that was going on when the bomb went off was the Democratic National Convention, and they were about to nominate a woman.
Okay.
And then yeah, it was during, so there's all these, and that version had, every silo had a stage in front of it, and each silo was one different state. So rather than we hear in this, like Per Stenson's getting the 2x2s from all the countries around the world, it was pretty much all Americans representing the 50 different states in each. Yeah. Silo
Oh, okay.
18 was, wait, do we know what Silo 18 was? I don't think we do know, but we know Silo 1 was Georgia and Silo 2 was Tennessee.
Okay, cool. So do you think that was a thing that Apple insisted on, seen as, this is a global show, a global phenomenon. We want a bit more representation.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, we talked about the whole, veering away from the political aspect of it with, having, for example, Daniel and the senator be from different political
Yeah.
parties. I think that makes sense. And so, yeah, naturally, also involving more of the private sector, because it's harder to imagine that the government would be able to get away with such a project at this point.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, so I understand these. I think those changes make a lot of sense. And as far as, the makeup being not mostly American, but people from around the world, I did think about you saying it can't just be that this is in the US. So yeah, I maybe they were anticipating those sorts of objections.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm quite sort of happy with how that played out, because the one tinfoil hat theory that I had way back in season one, when there was no reason to suppose that this was the case, was that there had to be more than one silo. And I've got a lot of stuff wrong between now and then, but that is
You
one of
got a
the
lot of stuff right too, and
yeah.
including,
But that is one of the ones where I absolutely landed it. Yeah.
And so about, yeah, the Stenson's thing, Dr. Wagner is her name, Eliza Matengu, and she that's the obstetrician. And she says, she tells Daniel and Helen she knows people who applied for, quote unquote, the Stenson thing, which she also calls the golden ticket to the chocolate factory. But those people were rejected. And she's impressed. Do you know him? We met him once. Daniel's like, hi.
I love
Helen's like,
that.
what? We met him. We did.
I love the way Daniel goes, hi.
Like, hello. Yeah, so apparently even this doctor knows Stenson is famous for his NDA. So
Yeah.
I guess that's what Daniel was worried about.
That was possibly my favourite Daniel bit of the entire season so far.
Hi.
Oh, NDA!
And yeah, and we learned that it seems it's been a 4-year time jump since the previous episode, because it took 3 years for Stenson to get the silos operational, and people have been living in there for just over a year already. So it's been about 4 years. So that's on track with what they were expecting. All right, so that brings us to a family reunion. Oh my gosh, I loved this part. In Georgia, Daniel and Helen visit Daniel's sister Charlotte, Jessica Brown Finley, who is still with Anna Thurman, Morven Christie. They spend the evening eating takeouts with actual bites of food
Yes!
taken on camera.
I noticed this. I was very happy.
I paid attention.
They have clearly taken note of my feedback.
Yes, of course. Yeah, they listened to it and went back and changed
They went back and did a quick reshoot. Yeah,
with the screeners that we already had access to. Yeah, so they eat their takeout and they're catching up, and Daniel talks about the Portland infrastructure projects keeping him busy as Charlotte playfully makes her boredom known. Charlotte seems less passionate about her work as Per Stenson's personal drone pilot, but happy in her life with Anna, aside from Anna's battle with cancer recently, from which she seems to have largely recovered. When Daniel decides it's past pregnant Helen's bedtime, they make plans to meet Charlotte and Anna for breakfast in the morning, to which Anna is reluctant to agree. Plan to turn out that will not pan out. But yeah, so what did you think of this whole dinner party?
Yeah, I thought it was really cute. I did
Mm-hmm.
think that last bit was strange. Anna being reluctant. Does Anna know something about what's coming next?
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
did. It did make my spidey senses tingle.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the final section for this part. But
Yeah,
Daniel seemed to me suspicious of Anna at the end when he gets the weird text that's not his
yeah,
sister. Yeah. So yeah, just it was nice to see Daniel and Charlotte seem to be back to normal again.
yes. And everybody seemed very happy
Mm-hmm.
with the way everything has played out. And
Mm-hmm.
again, really nice house, beautiful setting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
We learned that all of them use their NDA money to buy real estate, and frankly, that's what I would do with it. What about you?
yeah. I think I would buy a house. I
Just to
think,
like not have to worry ever again about
yeah, I think I'd buy a house. I
buy
would
it,
also,
pay it in cash, no mortgage, just have that sorted.
yeah, and I think I would go on on a nice holidays,
Sure.
where like maybe Lake Garda or
Hmm.
Como or Paris or something like that, and just hang out for a couple of months. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, first things first, I would buy a house full out cash. Just like leave me alone.
Just
Nobody takes away my house.
walk to the estate agents and dump a great big wad of cash on the desk.
Yeah, just get out. This is mine.
Mine.
I live here forever now. I'm never moving again, okay?
I can decorate it how I want, and I can have as many cats as I want, and that's it.
Yeah, and nobody can like kick me out because they want to move back
Yeah,
in or sell it or something. Yeah. Um yeah, that's what I would do with it. But Charlotte, I mean, she seems like Charlotte doesn't seem like she loves her job, but she loves her life outside of it. Like she
yeah,
seems really happy gardening as they're arriving. She and Anna seem genuinely in love, right?
yeah. And I thought that was really well done because we've had next to no time with those two characters together. There was
Mhm.
like that one scene last episode where they were flirting with each other, but you absolutely bought them as a couple.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, like kudos. I think Tim Robbins clearly wins the MVP for actor for this episode, but Jessica Finley Brown and sorry, who is it?
Morven Christie?
Morgan Christie come a close second collectively
Mm.
because
Yeah.
I absolutely like having seen that last episode. I thought, oh, that's a bit of a sharp turn. That's a bit of a that came out of nowhere a little bit. And it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, no, actually, I can, and like this episode, no, I completely buy that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I like to see, at one point Charlotte does admit that her memories of her childhood sometimes feel like someone else's memories, but she seems like herself. We get the sibling banter, like the rare apology heard to Anna,
yeah,
or Daniel eating a too hot pepper. Just the stuff that makes people feel real, characters feel real, like real people. Um, and yeah, Charlotte says that her house with Anna reminds her of where she and Dan grew up. She's calling him Dan. Like, okay, fine. Can we at least call him Danny? He was Donnie in the books. Can we call him Dan? But yeah, she said she feels like it's someone else's story sometimes. But she does also like her favorite joke that we heard in the first episode comes back, where as soon as Daniel says, "If our parents were here," she finishes, "They would be clawing frantically to get out of their coffins," which of course is an indication that she's more back to her old self, but it's also reminding us why Daniel is later in the episode, the next
yeah.
day, tipped off when Daniel said something about their parents, if their parents were there, and he gets a very different response. We'll get back to. Yeah.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is what they call foreshadowing.
Yes. Yeah, we're laying out the clues for us to pick them up later. Yeah.
Yeah,
I loved getting the updates about them. I don't know much about Portland, so if any Portland peoples want to shout out the Burnside references or other references they made there, then please do. Please send us some mails about that. But we learned that Helen's been working for a local paper, the Oregonian, which is, of course, understaffed, budget cuts, dwindling subscriptions, the usual, but she seems happy. Charlotte asks if they have a name for the baby yet, and they said Daniel Keene the second. Was that serious?
No, I think they were joking. Because don't they say in the doctor's office that it's a girl?
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I think they did.
Oh, maybe. Um, yeah. Okay.
I think they say there she is, but
Oh, yeah, that could be. Makes
yeah.
sense. And then they flip the question back around and ask Anna and Charlotte, what did you think of their reaction
I
to the
think
kids' question?
I thought that was a bit sort of insensitive given Anna's, health condition. They've had bigger fish to fry than getting pregnant, frankly.
Yeah.
So when it seems like they're not doing kids, they're not doing kids for the moment. I don't think that they've ruled it out entirely. And there is the whole conversation in a minute when they're doing the dishes, where Anna's talking about Charlotte having a way with children.
That's true.
That sort of led me to think that Anna at least might quite want to have a child with Charlotte. So I think it's just that life kind of has gotten in the way so far. I don't think they've made a conscious decision not to have kids.
I mean, of course, the whole being sick thing would play a role, and I mean, there's obviously 2 women there, 2 chances to be fertile, but the chemo and such can make you infertile. But also, I do wonder if the fact that Anna's spent the last 4 years working on a doomsday project weighs on her as well at all.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, you would think it might. Yeah. Helen says she and Daniel almost didn't come for this thing because Daniel thinks Senator Thurman, Laura Ennis, Anna's mom, doesn't like him. I guess for running out on the Before Times leak.
Yeah, possibly. I also thought that I also thought there might have been a political angle, given that they were in the same party.
Different parties,
Daniel might have given up a seat that then went Republican in the special election or the next.
Well, they're different parties, so that would be going to her party then. But yeah.
No. I think they are. Yeah. Okay. Scratch that. Yeah, probably it is if she didn't join the Before Times League then. He didn't join the sorry.
But then she apparently has asked to speak with Daniel, which Anna says she must mean she wants to bury the hatchet. And I mean, I noticed there's a tension. If there's a tension between Anna and Charlotte at this point, it's definitely about the project, which Anna says there's finally a light at the end of the tunnel. And Charlotte's like, except it's not daylight, it's a train. She's not wrong. It's a nuclear bomb going off, actually. But then Charlotte says, and when it's all over, we can finally go on a real honeymoon. You get 1 extra museum because I was mean. And it seems Anna's just clearly much more invested in this project than Charlotte. And given now the nuclear bomb has gone off and they're going to be living in the silo, it's sort of like Charlotte loses. I mean, well, yeah, we'll talk about where we even think Charlotte is actually, but
yeah.
It's the end. I was so sad seeing Charlotte by the fire, Charlotte gardening. It's like she seems to love being outdoors, and
yeah, that ain't happening. That ain't happening again.
No. Yeah. What did you think about Anna insisting on doing the dishes? Is this a control freak thing like Charlotte?
I think it's possibly a control freak thing. but it's also like I have this thing like if you've got guests around, like if you've got guests around, it always feels weird to make them do the dishes. I think it's just a politeness thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is her brother-in-law, to be
It
fair, though.
is. It is.
It's family. Yeah, because that is a thing, like, in my when I visit my family, it's whoever cooked is not supposed to be the one to clean, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. And we find out this surprised me a little bit, so I'm wondering, Daniel and Helen, clearly they have been back in the intervening 4 years. It seems like, um, when Anna got sick now, there's some implication that maybe this is not her first time getting sick because she says something, "Cancer fought it before, fought it again." So maybe she's been,
Yeah.
but at least this time she got sick. Daniel says they didn't make it back. And she's like, yeah, Helen was newly pregnant. So that means it was probably, like 7, 8 months ago. 8 months. Yeah, yeah. She can't be 9 months pregnant and flying. So anyway, it was a little over half a year ago. And that Helen was also dealing with her dad. I was like, wait, what? First of all, Helen has a dad? Of course she does. But like, we're bringing this up now. And what was the dealing? And what?
There was dealing. What was the nature of the dealing?
Yes, exactly. Like, was he sick? Was he suing her? I don't what was going on with her dad? Why'd she have to deal with him? um yeah. So any thoughts about them not making it back?
No, I didn't. I didn't take it as like there was any tension in the relationship, and Anna seemed quite accepting of it all.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, there was something going on. There was something going on with Helen's dad. So
Yeah.
whether we'll ever find out the nature of that or whether we ever need to is a different question. But
I don't know. I mean, the bringing up them not coming back makes me wonder if we're gonna find out more about that. But yeah, and but she said she was surrounded by people who brought her comfort, and she lists Charlotte and her mother and Henry Reed Burney, who we find out she's known since she was 12, and that he, to quote her, sweeps up the emotional debris after her mother visits. So that says some things about her relationship with her mother, and
yeah,
that Henry is taking care of her. He's sort of like we don't know anything about her father, but he seems like a father figure to her.
yeah. I mean, I don't know whether I'm like over interpreting it, but do we think that means that the senator has a problem with Anna having a same sex partner?
I didn't see anything I mean, she's a Republican, as we said, but I didn't see anything that specifically indicated that. I just thought that it was, I mean, there was tension when we first met Anna and the senator in the first episode of this season.
Yeah,
They
that's
were
true.
like
There
sniping
was.
at each other a bit. So I just thought they just have a somewhat fraught relationship at times. Or that
Yeah,
her
okay,
mother's
that's
like a
fair.
difficult person at times, perhaps.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably just the republicanism of it all. I probably just looked at the facts and cleared the wrong conclusion from a standing start.
Back in my day, there were
Yeah,
lots of Republicans who were not anti. But anyway, yeah.
yeah,
Um, Charlotte also says to Helen, yeah, the second Anna's cancer treatment was done, she was back to all salads all the time. So it was really like Charlotte was finding her joy in Anna. They were both finding their joy in each other, but Charlotte, other than that, was like looking outside of the whole silo thing, whereas Anna seems to have centered her life around it.
yeah,
Hmm. But Anna says she's thankful to Charlotte and more in love than ever. And she tells that story that you brought up about Charlotte visiting kids in the cancer ward, swearing to them and their parents about cancer. And she calls Charlotte tough, but so kind, which I think is fair. And then Charlotte, she and Daniel are no, she and Helen, sorry, are gossiping outside. Or no, or she says this to Daniel, didn't she?
yeah.
That Charlotte calls the pact some crazy shit Anna and Dr. C. No, it was to Helen because she was talking to Helen while Anna and Daniel were
Yes,
talking. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Some crazy shit Anna and Dr. C, meaning Victor, wrote about how to live underground for 500 years without killing each other. So this was a 400, 500-year question. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but it made my ears perk up when it was 400 with the light bulb. So I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the numbers don't quite work,
Yeah.
do they?
Is 500 years, do you know, is that like the time for nuclear?
Well, actually, I was gonna bring this up later, but assuming a full-on strategic nuclear exchange between Russia, the United States, China, with basically everybody firing off every nuclear weapon they can lay hands on, and um, and sort of the worst possible atmospheric conditions, and with because okay, this gets a little complicated, but basically the height at which you detonate the nuclear bomb affects the level of fallout, affects the level of radiation that gets pumped into the atmosphere. So assuming that you set it in what's called a low air burst, which is where the device detonates about 12 feet above the ground, which is what you would do optimally because you want the explosive force to spread outwards, not downwards. You don't want to make a
Okay.
big hole. So you don't want it actually exploding on impact because that will drive a lot of the kinetic force downwards rather than outwards. But that also means you get slightly less fallout because you don't get as much dust thrown up into the atmosphere because that's all fallout is radioactive dust. The issue is less the radioactivity than the issue that would drag on for perhaps 500 years is less the radioactivity and more do you cause a nuclear winter by throwing that much particulate matter into the atmosphere. Do you actually block out the sun, reduce global temperatures, stop crops from growing? That would be the issue that might kill life for that length of time, not actually the radioactivity per se. It's the amount of particulate matter that you would throw into the air. 500 years is conceivable, but it's probably at the pessimistic end of what you would do. Because, of course, it doesn't actually, in the real world, it doesn't actually matter. Everyone's going to be dead long before that. And even if you didn't kill everybody, to quote Nikita Khrushchev, the living would very much envy the dead. So there is there's a recent book by a journalist called Anna Jacobson that's just called Nuclear War: A Scenario. I think there are a lot of holes in that, and there's a lot of stuff in that I would find questionable. But if people want a place to start with what a nuclear war would look like and what it would do, that Anna Jacobson book is a place to start. Like I say, there have been a number of people in reviews that have questioned some of the science involved. But if you want, and also you'll be able to buy that at like your, your nearest book retailer because it's been quite a popular book. So I would take what's in that book with a grain of salt. But if you're interested in this kind of thing, that would be a place to start doing some research.
Okay.
I've also asked Elysia to put a website called Nuke Map in the show notes. And that is a website I use as a teaching aid that will show you the effect of nuclear weapons dropped on different cities from different heights in different ways. You can have hours of fun killing millions of people.
And of course, it shows immediately opens to where I am sitting.
Yeah, it does.
And you can set the effect size and all that stuff. So yeah, I'll play with it after this as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's take our break and then we'll get into the long silo tour and the big bada boom. Be right back. All right, the long silo tour. At the silo unveiling, each visitor has been assigned a silo to tour. The guides, who seem to be the guinea pigs who have been living in the silos already, wear augmented reality glasses to verify the identity of everyone present, making sure that every person is in the right place. Helen has been assigned Silo 18, and Daniel is being sent to Silo 1. Daniel walks Helen to Silo 18, where they are intercepted by Henry. He compliments Helen's pregnancy glow before whisking Daniel back to where he's supposed to be, telling him his sister is with Anna and the senators at Silo 1. But it's a long walk, so Helen should stay at 18 for her scheduled tour. But she should meet them at Silo 1 after for the senator's scheduled speech, which she promises will be short and followed by music and fireworks. So Charlotte is guided into the silo by her guide Everett, Arthur McBain, while Daniel catches up with the rest of the Before Times League. Victor takes a break from taking photos of the attendees to greet Daniel, telling him he was sad not to have him involved in the project these past years, saying Daniel had a gift for seeing things other people missed. Victor was sucked into the considerations of the mass trauma that would be involved in needing to use such a fallout shelter if the silo system were to ever be used for its intended purpose. Daniel and Victor convene with Anna, Senator Thurman, and Per Stenson, Colin Hanks at the Silo 1 stage, where Peter Gabriel is rehearsing Here Comes the Flood. Peter Gabriel, played by Peter Gabriel. Daniel and Senator Thurman talk, and she chides him for not stopping by to see her. Pear also says he has a bone to pick with Daniel for leaving the project. Thurman asks Daniel to stick around while she and Pear do a tech check. She says she wants to discuss something with him. Anna apologizes for missing breakfast, but agrees to a makeup the next day. She says Charlotte should be along soon, but Daniel gets no responses from his text to her until he finally does, and it's not what he expected. Setting up the if mom and dad were alive joke, he gets the response, Mom and dad would say it's best to sit still and be patient. And Daniel, freaked out, walks away from Anna and the others. Daniel begins frantically texting and calling Helen and finally gets a response from her that she's climbed back outside Silo 18 to get reception. Henry is trying to herd Daniel back toward the stage, and a guide tries to usher Helen back in for her dinner. But they're determined to find each other. They see each other from the tops of the berms around each silo they're standing next to and wave just as a nuclear bomb falls on Atlanta in the distance. As the fallout begins to sweep toward them, they're both yanked back into their nearest silos, calling each other's names, and the episode ends. Dun, dun, dun. So, I mean, were you surprised by the bomb? Were you surprised by them being separated? What was your emotional experience going through this whole sequence of Per Stenson Day?
My emotional experience was, well, let's start at the beginning and work our way forwards. So my first reaction is everybody is being very friendly to Henry.
Yeah, it's just like they're old friends.
Yeah, considering this is a guy who literally kidnapped you. Literally kidnapped you.
But then they got $1 million each out of it. So
Yeah, everybody's been very understanding about this situation. So I suppose, yeah, you got $1 million each, and I suppose all's well that ends well, but I would be a little bit more guarded around my former kidnapper, to be honest.
he was just doing his job.
That's what Bernard said.
Yeah. And I guess it's harder to hold it against Thurman, considering she's family now that Anna and Charlotte are married.
I guess. But yeah, that did strike me. Did that strike you as weird? Because, yeah, it struck me as a little bit
Yeah.
odd.
No, I thought it was funny and sweet, but I do also think that is how people are. They're like, oh, old hatchets buried. Like, we're old comrades who know this some parts at least of this big secret of this site that we're standing on.
Yeah.
Remember that time we all hung out and you told us about nanos?
Yeah.
I did wonder his whole thing. He said to Helen, "My advice is don't take the full tour. It's a lot of stairs and a lot of elevators." And then she says, "Oh, it's something about getting enough exercise, the lack of elevators." Which, okay,
Yeah.
we've speculated on that further, but um, and then he's like, "Oh, Helen, it's too far to walk to come to Silo 1. But then actually, after you tour Silo 18, then you can walk by yourself to Silo 1 to meet us." Like, what?
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 Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, and also like, yeah, there's also something deeply sinister about the tour guides. Something really deeply sinister. Like, apart from the fact they're wearing the pervert glasses.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder, like, so it was funny that whole thing, that clip of Helen. There's a clip of Helen walking into the silo holding someone's arm in the trailer. And all season long, book readers have been like, whose arm is she holding? And then it turned out to be a character we've never seen before. And it's like, ha ha ha, joke's on us.
And I would be prepared to make a fairly hefty bet we'll never see again.
Maybe. So, okay, this is Everett from Hoddesdon. Do you know Hoddesdon? Because apparently even Londoners don't.
No, I actually Googled it when I was doing my rewatch because I have never heard of this place, but it is a real place. It is on the edge of London.
Okay, makes sense. And yeah, so he was one of the million. Well, he's not even one of the millions who applied and got accepted because he was already there for a year before that. But he's the one who tells them about two people from every country, and Helen calls it Stenson's Ark. Yeah, I think it was funny. Helen asks about the costs again. Like, she's really obsessed with the cost of this project. He's like, Dr. Stenson plans on releasing those figures soon, right after the bomb. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, like how soon? Within the next 5 minutes?
I don't know why. If like it's mostly Pear's money, as he claims, I don't know why Helen is so concerned about
Well,
the price.
I think Helen's thing is you could solve all of these problems and instead you've dug 50 holes in the ground.
Yeah, fair. Fair. Speaking of the 50 holes, so we get that overhead map of the silos, and Bernard's understanding of the layout of the silo system does not, it seems a bit off. So, Bernard, when he was explaining this to Juliet last episode, he was saying there's basically like 7 groups of 7, which would be 49 plus silo 1 in the middle. But what we see here is that the clumps are of varying size. So silo 18 is actually part of a clump of 8 silos. But then down at the very bottom, there's a clump of only 5 silos. So I don't like, was this just a design decision, or I don't know if there's a reason for this.
But that's interesting because that means there is a silo in Silo 18's field
Cluster,
and
yeah.
cluster that Bernard doesn't know about.
Yeah. But but I guess it was purely speculation on his part, or my question is, it was more clear in the books what Bernard knew from the algorithm, I think, from the voice, versus here, we're kind of piecing it together. What does Bernard actually know? And the other thing that caught my ear is that Henry said that, let's go to Silo 1 to like Anna and the senators, which plural. So Thurman, is Per Stenson a senator now?
Well,
or
but if he is, then it would have been Senator Stenson.
rather
Will
than
release
doctor?
figures shortly rather than Doctor, so I
Fair.
don't think so.
Okay, so maybe just in general, that's where the senators were sent?
Yeah, I think possibly Thurman was not the only senator as a VIP.
Yeah, okay. Why do we think they showed us Victor taking photos of the people? All right, do you want to hear? Well, I want to hear your thing, and then I'll tell you my ultimate in that theory of the episode.
So, what's my thing?
Why do you think they showed us Victor taking photos of the people?
I hadn't really noticed that until you'd put it in the show notes. So I don't really have a theory about that. But you've come up with an absolute doozy.
I don't think it's real. Well, say, okay, real answer. I don't know that he wants it for documentation for some study that he's doing or something about, or some, yeah, that yeah, just wants to analyze the crowd on this day for whatever his Victor reasons. The tinfoil hat theory I put in the notes is that he's Palmer and forget drugged Helen because Palmer was a photographer.
I mean, I
I don't think
mean,
that's true. I don't
and
think
what
it's true,
I
but
mean, we know that Victor had a family. We know that he had a wife and daughter who died, but we don't know much about the period of time from that happening to when we meet him. So he could be Palmer.
then when he forget drugged Helen before any of this show started? I mean, she was staying in Palmer's apartment. I don't know. See, this is why I don't think this is real at all. It was just a thought that popped into my head.
You've got to get into the spirit of tinfoil hatedness, Alicia.
No,
You
stop
can't let
undermining.
you
I'm
can't let,
unraveling the tinfoil as I'm
yeah,
putting it on.
yeah, you can't let these annoying things like facts get in the way of a good theory.
I mean, yeah, because presumably she knew whose apartment she was staying in,
Yeah,
and then she also didn't recognize Victor when she saw him. So I
that's true.
don't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's a flimsy connection I made that Victor was using a camera, and I still am wondering what the deal is with that Palmer unseen dude.
But I'm glad you're entering into the spirit of tinfoil hatedness.
um, Yeah, I do wonder. Victor seems to. I wonder what's going on in his head. He says he's saying to Daniel, like, it's a shame you weren't on the project. But then it's almost like he's trying to guilt trip him. He's like, there's nothing wrong with thinking about the road not taken. But then he says we all do. Like, he's the one reflecting on his own feelings of regret. What do you think's going on inside Victor's head?
I just think Victor he's constantly analyzing people. He's constantly trying to get a rise out of people. Um, and like Daniel is going to end up going into one of the silos. We think silo one, but maybe he doesn't make it to silo one. So
Hmm.
I think from Victor's point of view, this is not the end of the project. This is the beginning of the project, and he's trying to get a base. I think Daniel is going to play an important role in that project.
Yeah.
I think Pierce Denson and Victor, both this episode and the last clock, that Daniel was somebody they could, with the kind of mind they could use,
Hmm.
and that would be useful in the context of the silo. So I think Victor's trying to get he's trying to get a rise out of Daniel. I don't know why, but that's clearly what he's trying to do. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't. I think from Victor's point of view, it's wrong to see this as the end of the project. This is the beginning of the project.
So, as far as the people who were next to Silo 1, who were thus ushered in there when the bomb went off, we know obviously Daniel being tracked back in by Henry. Um, we knew, yeah, Anna, definitely, her mother, Per, Victor. Charlotte was not seen,
Yeah, Charlotte was
so,
not seen.
uh, but pretty much all of the rest of the Before Times League except for Helen.
Yeah, because like I just got this image of like the opening scene of the finale being like it being another time jump in the before times, and we find out that Daniel and Helen, have been memory drugged. They can't remember each other. And this is not particular by my standards. This is not particularly tinfoil hatness. I wonder whether Helen ends up marrying somebody called Nichols.
Oh, okay. And becomes a ancestor of,
Of
well,
Juliet.
We have the idea that she is probably an ancestor based on that the mystery of the Pez short story. We have the idea she's probably an ancestor of George Wilkins.
Yes. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, scratch that. But yeah, I think the opening scene of the next episode is going to be a cut between Helen and Daniel, and we realise that they've both been memory drugged and can't remember each other.
Hmm.
And Helen's got the Pez in her handbag, and she knows it's important, but she doesn't know why.
Yeah, does it trigger a memory?
Yeah,
Is that why it becomes a forbidden relic?
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, I mean, so much to pick apart in this part. First of all, what do you think Thurman wanted to discuss with Daniel? She said, "Stick around. I want to talk to you about something after this practice speech."
I'm not sure. I don't know, and frankly, at this point, I don't know whether it's even going to be important. Seeing as the context has somewhat shifted in the last 5 minutes. I do wonder, like, what is Senator Thurman's usefulness to the project going forward? Like, she's delivered the silo. Will she be like interrogating Per Stenson about what's going on? Or again, she may well be memory drugged by the time we see her next.
So
But
you think she doesn't know as much as you think Pear knows more than her, or he's
oh,
holding things back from her?
absolutely.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
we'll talk about this in a second. But I am almost sure that it's Per Stenson that has caused the nuclear bomb to go off. I don't think Thurman has anything to do with that.
Okay.
I think Thurman genuinely believes in the project Stenson was pitching last episode.
Okay. What did you? Okay. Do you want to guess what line made my blood boil?
Go on.
Victor says the pact was mostly written by AI
Oh
and they
yeah.
just did some editing.
as if it's
What?
just that simple, Victor.
What? Well, yeah, it was like this is the most important documents in humanity. You're basically just said at another point, sometime right before or after this. What you trusted that something that important to AI and like, are you lying? Are you? I don't know what to make of this. Is this like a way of explaining away any wonkiness of it? Like, I don't know what to make about that being thrown in. And then he says, hopefully, we'll never have to find out if we did a good job because you didn't write it even. I don't know. I don't get it. Why?
Yeah,
Why?
the entire future of humanity has been doomed by ChatGPT.
Exactly. Oh, like no wonder I didn't think human things. Anyway, um, yeah. So Peter Gabriel, any chance we see him in the finale?
I really hope he got to a silo in time.
Well, we saw Pear directing him to 17 at the end of his rehearsal. I do wonder if any listeners at home know so we saw watching Peter Gabriel, we saw Pear, Senator Thurman, and two other people. And I'm wondering if the two other people are like other known faces, like members of the Hanks family or something, somebody I'm supposed to recognize and didn't. If anyone knows, let me know. I'm curious who the other people on stage with the senator and Pear were watching Peter Gabriel. But
Yeah.
and then Victor tells his joke, 17, it's the best one. They're not all the same? No, they are. It's a silo joke. But it was funny because here Donald just assumes all the silos are the same. In the book, it's the opposite. He thought that he had designed one silo for people and that the rest were like to house nuclear waste or other things. And then
Okay.
only on this day does he find out, wait, these are all to house people? Why? So it's a difference. Do we think the weird text from Charlotte? Daniel doesn't tell Anna about the not Charlotte text, which makes me wonder if he's suspicious of her. But it also, I don't know if this is a misdirect, but we see Pear pull out his phone buzzes as Daniel's trying to get in touch with Charlotte.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I noticed that. And has Pear like cloned Charlotte's phone?
I mean, yeah, certainly it's within possibility, but it seemed, or it could be a misdirect because it seems so obvious to viewers at home. I don't know. Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's like, but if it's Anna, Anna would know the joke.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so it's not Anna. I mean, Anna was sitting right next to Daniel, so she wasn't
Yeah.
responding. Yeah.
So I don't know why Daniel would be suspicious of Anna.
Yeah, maybe because he was weirded out by the whole breakfast thing, like her being
Yeah.
shady about meeting for breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I do wonder if his spidey senses are going off on something. I don't know. But, or maybe it was just all of them. He was just like, I trust no one but Helen right now or my sister. I want Helen and my sister and everyone else go away.
Yeah, I want Helen, my sister, and my child safe, and I
Yeah.
don't really care about what else is going on.
Yeah. And then we see a slightly different side of Thurman when she's practicing her speech. Like she seems more intense. Do you agree?
Yeah, she clicks into politician mode.
And she's like bossing everyone around. You got to do it right. This is the most important speech, which of course she never gets to give.
Yeah.
But Pear's just going through the motions. That's funny. Like he leans over, he's like, "Oh, it's my part to speak." He's like, "This is the greatest achievement of humanity."
Yeah, well,
Okay,
I
back
mean,
to you.
I am 99% certain he knows what's coming next. So
Okay.
yeah,
And then just to answer our questions about is it government, is it private? In the practice speech, Thurman says, "Government and industry working together on a level not seen since World War II."
yeah,
Yeah,
and that would be right if you were building something on this scale.
yeah,
It would be like building the Pentagon. It would be like
yeah,
the Manhattan Project.
yeah. Yeah, so this whole the way it ends with like the practice speech and stuff, I think this is part of the cheating to keep budget down aspect of it, because in the book version, they actually really do get the music and fireworks, not just the rehearsal. And then it's like the fireworks have started going off, and then they're like, "Oh shit, there's a bomb." um,
And you say you got the news anchors melting on camera.
Yeah, that's actually from one of the short stories where you see these events from a perspective of people who are watching through a TV. And there's yeah, there's news anchors that melt on camera, and that's when they're like, "Shit."
Yeah,
Yeah, and I also wrote music and fireworks. Well, I guess there were certainly
there were
fireworks.
certainly fireworks. Yeah.
Okay. So you've shared your ideas about who dropped the bomb and why. We noted that the algorithm voice is already being used. I do agree. It kind of sounds like Daniel, but I don't know. I think it's just like a digital voice.
Like literally, I think they might have just got Ashley Zuckerman to read a few lines just to save a bit of money.
Maybe to mess with people. No, I don't.
Yeah,
Probably not.
or to just mess with us. Yeah,
I mean, I wonder if they like layered several characters' voices over each other.
yeah, that because it also sounds a little bit like Per Stenson as well. So it sounds a little bit like Colin Hanks as well. So yeah, I think there's very possibly that they very possibly could have done that.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, the bomb goes off while most visitors are inside eating dinner. So you think that was intentionally timed?
Yeah, because I'm 99% sure it was Stenson that set the bomb off.
Hmm. And we hear that the silos are built to withstand a 30 megaton nuclear explosion as close as 2 miles. The doors are 25 tons each, and each can keep out particles as small as 50 nanometers. So, yeah, it's nuclear proof and nano proof.
Yeah, although I'd say again it doesn't really matter, and I'm sure it's not. But I'd say that's further away than 2 miles.
Yeah, Atlanta
Yeah,
from wherever they
yeah.
are. I think in the book they specify it's Fulton County, Georgia, but I'm
Okay.
not sure that.
Well,
Actually,
Fulton County is the county that metropolitan Atlanta sits in.
right. Okay, so it's not
Yeah,
far. Yeah, because you can see it in the distance, obviously.
yeah,
So, but it's not that close. Yeah. I think someone actually at some point figured out where exactly they based it in terms of like the view of Atlanta from the silo
Okay.
system. Yeah, there's people
Yeah,
down
because
there.
somebody did that last season, and you were like,
Hmm.
"I can't talk about this because it would give too much away."
Yeah, but it was
Somebody wrote in and said they'd worked out exactly where the silo was, and
yeah,
you said they were right, but you couldn't tell us where,
yeah,
or
and
you thought they were right.
that was in the suburbs of Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget the exact location from the top of my head, but yeah. Did you want to? Did you talk about the permissive active action links?
Yeah. So I think it's Per Stenson that sets off the bomb, but I don't know how he's done it because US, Russian, Chinese, almost everybody's nuclear weapons. We're not sure about the North Koreans, which is a bit worrying. Use something called a PAL, a permissive action link, or sometimes the L is rendered as lock rather than link. And actually this is very well sort of represented in the popular culture on nuclear weapons. So whenever you see nuclear weapons launched from a silo or a submarine on TV, it's the thing where the two people have the two keys and they have to turn them simultaneously to
Right.
launch the missile. That is actually real. And that is what a permissive action link is. So basically, it's to stop a situation where a single individual could launch a nuclear weapon. So let's say the US president wants to launch the nukes. What he would do is he would ask for what's called the nuclear satchel, or sometimes called the nuclear football.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it's called a nuclear football, by the way, is because it's passed off between the
Ah,
president's military assistants in a way that sort of looks like American football, apparently, if you squint.
right.
So that's why it's called the nuclear football.
Okay.
So that they open up that briefcase. That briefcase has a laptop with a very secure internet connection. And what that will do is that will broadcast the exact number of nuclear weapons the president wants launching, and it will also send the target packages depending on what the president selects. Um, and it will send them out to the submarines, it will send them out to SAC, Strategic Air Command, it will send them out to the missile silos in places like Montana, Nevada, Utah, Arkansas. But actually, the president can't launch a nuclear weapon. He can give the order to launch, but it actually requires the captain of the ship or the bombardier of the plane or the guy sitting in the silo to actually arm the weapon. And the two keys system was the way they originally designed it in the 1960s, and that went on to the 1970s. The way it's done, or the last time we had a report on this, because it was the last time the PALs were publicly updated was in the early 2000s. They may have been updated further since, but the Pentagon hasn't released that information to the general public. So the way it works, or the way it worked in the early 2000s, was there is a safe, you open that safe, there is a plastic card inside that safe. You then have to enter in on a keyboard a whole series of codes that arm the nuclear weapon, and those codes are changed periodically. So two people have to enter two separate sets of codes, and those codes are changed randomly and often. The idea being that it would be impossible for a single person, even the President of the United States, to launch nuclear weapons without other people in the chain of command concurring that that should be what happens. So, the question I have is the questions I have is how did Per Stenson get hold of a nuclear weapon?
Mm.
How did he break the PALs? Because there's a famous quote that I like by one of the people that designed it, the system, and he said trying to break a PAL would be the equivalent of trying to perform a tonsillectomy on a patient who is awake whilst having to go in the other end. In other words, having to go butt first. Because the thing is, the actual physical, because the PALs, what they are physically is a whole series of locks. They are built deep into the gubbins, deep into the heart of the nuclear weapon. So you can't actually physically get to them without dismantling the bomb.
Hmm.
So, where did Per Stinson get a nuclear weapon from? How did he beat the PALs? Or, or is what we're seeing a Russian or a Chinese nuclear weapon used against Atlanta because Per Stinson managed to basically hack their early warning system in such a way that they thought they were under attack by the United States?
What?
Because
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm going on
No,
a
no,
bit.
go, go, go.
Because the way it works is certainly for Russia, the US, and China, they have a doctrine. They have a doctrine which is a policy, an idea, which is called launch on warning, basically, which is they will not wait for nuclear weapons to strike Russia or China. If they see an incoming nuclear weapon from the United States, they will launch. And the United States also has this policy. They will launch when the nuclear weapon is first detected. In other words, they won't wait to absorb a first strike and then retaliate. So, what Stenson could have done, and I think this might actually frighteningly be easier than defeating the PALS, is actually hack the early warning system and fool China or Russia or whoever into launching nuclear weapons at the United States.
Okay, two questions. If yeah, so if it were Pear who did this, one, couldn't he have been working with someone who had access to the PAL system or whatever?
Yeah, but it would still require whoever was president of the United States to open the nuclear football and send the orders because
Mm-hmm.
it's only at that point. It's only at that point when that's received that it's actually possible to open those safes.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't heard anything about the president in
Yeah,
this universe, in this world. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, which I'll say, actually, the president is mentioned. That yeah, there's a more political angle in the book version, but I see they're skirting away from
yeah.
that, and I guess I get it. But it does raise questions in this regard. But yeah, but then okay, here's my more important question: why would he want to bomb Atlanta?
I don't think he is bombing Atlanta per se. I think he's bombing everywhere.
Like the whole world?
Yeah, this just happens to be the one
What
we've
we see?
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right.
and
I mean,
I would urge people to have fun with the Nuke Map
yeah.
website because
I'll put that in the show notes.
yeah it's an old website, but it does give you a sense of scale and what a nuclear weapon would do.
Yeah, and you can position it over Fulton County, Georgia, if you
You
want to
can,
see.
yeah.
It does, like, it is a jump scare when it opens. It's positioned over the center of Amsterdam. Like, no, bad
Ah!
juju, go away. No nukes here. Yeah, and I'm gonna play with it, and that'll be in the show notes for anyone who wants to play with it. Well, let's take our final break of the episode, and then finally we got some emails in as feedback for this week. So be right back.
Now opening the listener feedback channel.
We got a few mostly emails. One is from Yael H, who wrote in. Actually, this was after our episode 7 podcast. So this is going back a little bit, but I didn't get it till after we recorded episode 8. Hi, Elysia and Luke. I'm a big fan of the podcast, and despite the fact I only discovered it when season 3 began, I've listened to all of your season 2 and season 3 episodes. Well, we're really happy to have you with us. Thank you. Like Luke, I am extremely impressed by Alicia's abilities to resurrect random side characters from the dead. I'm just, predicting narrative, including Gloria. However, I was a little miffed listening this week when Luke seemed to imply Gloria was some sort of charlatan because of her work as a fertility consultant. If memory serves, in season 1, we learned that Gloria told none other than Robert Sims to procure folic acid for his wife when she was having trouble conceiving. She later went on to have Anthony. While it is possible she had some woo woo things going on, is sage available in the silo? Folic acid is recommended by most national health bodies, e.g., NHS, CDC, for women of childbearing age because of its vital role in preventing neural tube defects in developing fetuses, particularly in the first trimester. Telling me to take a prenatal with folic acid was the first thing out of my OBGYN's mouth when my pregnancies were confirmed. I even had to take extra folic acid for my second pregnancy, twins. Well, congratulations. It will, of course, shock absolutely no one to discover that RFK Jr., in response to California wanting to enrich certain foods with folic acid to prevent birth defects, declared this to be insanity. Looking forward to your next episode and to hearing Luke amend his characterization of Gloria as a hack, although I will concede she does give off witchy vibes. Best, Yael.
Thanks, Yale.
I forgot about the folic acid myself, but yeah, that
Yeah,
was solid. That was a grounded.
that's solid advice. I think I'd have to go back and listen to what I said, but I think the point I was trying to make was that Holston thought she was a
Yeah,
quack.
yeah. And
Um,
I said Gloria is redeemed because she was right about Allison. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, for as far as the folic acid goes, I'm not sure if this is still the case. People can write in, but certainly in the UK for a while, folic acid was routinely added to bread just as an additive for that
Mm,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, so it's like the whole thing about putting fluoride in the water, and people are like, no, it's mind control, and that seems to be kind of what they're playing into with the whole vitamin D plus in the water supply thing.
yeah.
This one I pulled from the books channel actually in the Discord, but it's not a spoiler. Sub Zero said, just finished Wool, still a lot to process. So Wool being the first book, which was the basis mostly of the first 2 seasons. Still a lot to process, but initial impression is I liked most of the changes they made when adapting this for TV. It surprised me how some major characters like Sims and Dr. Nichols are barely in the book, and I'm so happy with how they chose to adapt Bernard's character. The book version was quite annoying. And I'll say with Dr. Nichols, it's the funny thing about him is they really moved up his story in the show because in the books, his story doesn't really begin. He and Juliet don't make up until the very end of Wool when she gets back from Silo 17. And he
Okay.
now in this version, he was dead by then. So all of his story stuff plays out before that. So
Yeah.
it's actually quite truncated, but it happens early. But anyway, yeah, just good to hear about from people who are getting into the books now and what they think, having experienced the TV show first. If there's more feedback on that, send it our way. Would love to hear.
Yep.
Tony C said by email, hi, Elysia and Luke. Thanks again for your work on the podcast. I'm enjoying it. And sorry, we're near the end of season 3. I know. I just watched episode 8 last night and listened to the podcast today. I'm with you both in that I think I'd agree to sign up for the project. I'm not sure, however, about the 200K in the year underground. I don't trust Pear as far as I could throw him, and I don't like the professor. I think he means Victor. There's definitely more to the silos than they're letting on. I agree with Luke. Helen has definitely been given the forgetting drugs. They'd never trust her not to tell. Someone pointed out to me that a smiling Helen is one of the crowd seen entering the silo in the trailer. Yeah, we saw that in this episode. This could be evidence of her being given the drugs. Patrick Kennedy has become one of my favorite characters. I loved the scene with him and Jimmy, and also him looking at the animal pictures. Something struck previously about time in the silos. How do we know for a fact it's 352 years since they were built? I've gone on way too long, and don't get me started on nanotechnology eye roll. But one final note, I think Camille will turn quote unquote good. All the best for now, Tony. So thoughts on any of that? I mean, I
Well,
know,
we know that Helen didn't get given the forgetting drugs,
yeah,
so
we learned that now.
that's another tinfoil hat theory that bit the dust within a single episode. Um,
Unless she was made to forget Palmer. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
That
yeah, and we know why she willingly went on the what we now know is a tour of
hmm
the silo.
hmm
Yeah, definitely with you definitely with you regarding Patrick Kennedy and Solo.
hmm
Um, yeah, it's an interesting question. How do we know that they're 352 years old? I mean, I think Ed Harwood gave us a pretty good steer that they must be about 300 years old. And I
Right.
think the way you described it was you can sort of work backwards from the amount of tunnels there are in the mines.
hmm
I think that's a reasonable guide to how old the silo is. It might not give you an exact figure like 352, but it should give you a fairly good idea of just about how old the silo is, I think.
Yeah, and I guess there's other indicators like the names in the digger void in the basement that's less precise, but it does show that there's a long history behind it. I've seen a lot of people with this positing that the silos are not as old as they say they are on Reddit, but
Well,
I you know.
I think we've got to be fairly certain that they're 104, at least 140 years old. Because
Right.
they can date from the time of the rebellion. There's
Mhm.
enough relics and enough evidence out there that they can
Yeah.
say with some certainty that the rebellion was 140 years ago.
I mean, and the basement, the names in the basement go far back beyond that. The tunnels, as you said. Yeah, I think that this has become a favorite fan theory online that people like the sound of. But yeah, and I'm reluctant to debunk it because people will accuse me of spoiling. So I'll let you debunk it.
Okay.
Tony also sent a follow up email that said that with basically a link to an article and the note, echoes of Silo. So I'll link this article in the show notes, but the title is Security by Antiquity: Why Older Tech is Sometimes Safer from Hackers. And this is a BBC article from just this week, August 24th. And I pulled out a few key quotes from this that seem silo relevant to a certain degree. So, first is cybersecurity expert Miko Hipponen calls it security by antiquity. Others use the phrase security by obsolescence. And in both cases, this means relying on an older technology or system since it may prove somewhat counterintuitively safer than more recent alternatives. Uh, yeah, skipping ahead. The vast majority of attackers are criminals trying to make money, and it doesn't make any sense for them to target systems being run by 50 people, he explains. The Irish Aviation Authority, for instance, recently decided to keep ground based radio navigation beacons in use because supposedly the more modern satellite based global positioning system, GPS, has proven so susceptible to jamming in recent years. Another quote: militaries are also known for being reluctant to take chances. Even the world's most active militaries are known to occasionally rely on old technologies for reasons of reliability and security. One thing I've seen in places like Ukraine is the use of paper maps or laminated maps and compasses, says Thomas Withington, Associate Fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, a think tank. You can't jam that. It's kind of analog resilience, he adds. Thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I've definitely sort of seen the same phenomenon, and you also have concern from some people in the military that new recruits and the militaries more generally are too dependent on systems that can be jammed or spoofed or otherwise compromised. So yeah, there's definitely something to that.
Hmm. Um, yeah, no, I think that this was a great article and a good. We'll see if it has any relevance to the reasons for silos tech being obsolete, but it was, yeah, it's definitely an interesting read and seems indeed to dovetail with the themes of Silo.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Robert FJ sent an email that says all U.S. waste ever made from commercial reactors is stored on the reactor site. You're thinking of the Yucca Mountain Complex, which was shut down due to NIMBY. And then the quote, two things are infinite, the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the universe, said Albert Einstein. Do you know what's NIMBY? Do you know what that
Not
is?
in my backyard.
Oh, I see. So they shut down that site because of, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is maybe why the book explanation for Georgia accepting a nuclear waste site on their not in my
Yeah.
backyard would not have flown as well in the show. Yeah. Let's see. And John from California sent by email, hi there. I've not read the Silo book, so I'm completely in the dark on things, but have two theories. One on the memory-wide drug and the other on the algorithm. I believe the drug to erase memories was seen by the creators of the Silo project as critical to keeping the original first occupants of the silos from suffering massive survivor guilt and PTSD. They would want to shield them from the knowledge of knowing their family, friends, acquaintances outside the silos, billions of people, young and old, were dying horrible deaths from whatever was ending our world. Next, there is no reasonable explanation for why the silo builders would intentionally include a feature to kill everyone inside a silo. It makes no sense. What anticipated problem could this possibly be intended to solve? So, my second theory is the algorithm in Silo 1 is in control of all the silos, and over time it developed a psychosis and conflict in its mission programming. It had a primary directive to protect humanity and at the same time to keep those in the silo from remembering, the truth about the horrible deaths of billions while their ancestors hide safe inside the silo. And it created the safeguard in a flawed logic loop as the ultimate way to keep those in the silo from learning their history and suffering deep mental anguish, physically killing them all to save them from the soul-crushing mental pain of learning what was done. Thoughts? John, California.
I think it's an interesting theory, John, but I think it falls down because the safeguard is a physical thing. It's a pipe that pumps gas into the silo, which means that it was probably built at the same time the silo was originally built.
Mm.
I don't know how the algorithm would have been able, because like Camille says, the algorithm, it doesn't have arms and legs, so it would need people to actually build the infrastructure that the safeguard works off of. So I think until we're told otherwise, I'm assuming that those pipes were put into the silo when the silo was being constructed.
Mm.
So I think it's a good theory, but I don't think it quite. There's probably something in. I certainly think that theory explains the memory drug, but I don't think it explains the safeguard.
Yeah, well, I would be curious. All of the feedback in this episode is from episode 8 at the latest because we're recording this before episode 9 has been released. So I would be curious, John, about your thoughts about the algorithm and then safeguard after this most recent episode, which I think might cast things in a different light there in terms of, is it a human? Is it what is the dealio there? Um, I definitely agree on the memory thing being used, at least in part. We've seen it used for multiple things, but definitely, at least in part for, I just imagine like them being inside having dinner while the bombs are falling. Like, are they being served vitamin D plus water with dinner? Like to calm them down, or yeah, what? I
Yeah.
can definitely imagine the memory drug being used because Victor brought up in episode 9, which again John had not yet seen while writing this, but Victor brought up in episode 9 that he was interested in it from like a how do we deal with mass trauma angle. So yeah,
Mm.
absolutely can see, and he's the memory drug dude, so can absolutely see him working it in that way as well. I guess we will probably find out more about that in the finale. And then our last piece of feedback is Dan from Oak Park, Illinois, sent in an email. Hi, Luke and Elysia. Love the podcast and your in-depth discussions. Thank you. I'm a season pass holder for the Book Spoiler podcast, which I also love. Thank you so much for your support, Dan. Why drones may not have snuck around to make sure Luke and Patrick were still dead.
You mean Lucas and Patrick?
Lucas.
Dan?
I will say people do call him Luke as a nickname in the book sometimes.
Okay.
Like the same way, yeah, people call Donald Donnie or whatever, or Juliet Jules. I think it may have to do with how the drones are powered. I would imagine that battery-powered drones have short flight times, while the old ones used for longer missions are hybrid or fuel-powered. Google seems to agree with this. See attached screenshot, and he sent an AI summary Google screenshot that's talking about the battery-powered drones versus fuel-powered drones, and points out, I don't think we've seen anything in the silos indicating they have fuel. So I assume that the drones are battery powered and had to go back to recharge before coming back for a second look. Keep up the great work. All the best, Dan from Oak Park, Illinois. So yeah, I'll say about the fuel question, that is a change from the books that I thought made a lot of sense. And I think I had to dance around this before, but now I can just say in the books, they are mining. I mean, they're mining iron also, but they are also pumping oil, and oil is how they feed the generator. Now, Georgia doesn't have oil. So
And
Georgia,
also, they would need refining capacity.
they had that in they had like a refinery at the bottom of the silo in the books,
Okay.
and they were also able to make plastics in the silo because of this. But so no oil in this. So yeah, indeed, seems no fuel in this version. It must be battery powered. And we see that the generator in Silo 18, that's the generator we've seen, it is hydrothermal because Georgia does have like geysers and hydrothermal activity, or, what do you call it?
Yeah,
Geothermal activity.
Geothermal energy.
Yeah. So that's what we see them powering at least Silo 18 with, is this geothermal thing. And yeah, Georgia does have iron to mine, so they're still mining iron, but no oil, so they have the geothermal stuff instead. So I don't know. What do you think about?
Yeah, it's a good point, Dan. Although I will say the battery technology for drones is improved. I mean, I am not a leading expert on this, but I know people that are, and I would say that the battery technology for drones is improving by leaps and bounds. So it's as good an explanation as any. Put it that way.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, that's our episode. Let me ask you one final question. This is a game I'm calling Kill Your Darlings. So in the season finale, you can pick we're going to talk only A and B cast, characters
Okay.
in Silo 18. So
Okay.
we'll leave Silo 17 alone. We'll leave the before times alone. In Silo 18, you can save one, but you have to also condemn one to death. It has to be an A or B character. You can't say like Teddy, because you already said you don't consider him a top character.
Okay. So I have to kill somebody in order to save somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd asked me this at the beginning of the season, I would never in a million years have made this choice. But I am killing Billings in order to save Knox.
I knew you were going to save Knox. Let me think. Like, I don't know. I kind of want to save Billings because his story is not done to me. I won't kill Knox though. I'll leave Knox alone. I don't want to kill Hank either. Oh, I hate the rules to my own game that I made up. Camille, you're dead. You're dead.
You know what?
And Billings lives.
You know what? In all seriousness, I really do get a vibe off Camille that she might not make it through the next episode.
We shall see. We shall see. Any more final thoughts or predictions for before the finale?
I just feel like this episode has sort of With this episode, I feel that the whole series is kind of turned on its axis. And I'm going to be really interested to see where we go from here. I am hoping that the finale is relatively evenly divided between the before times and Silo 18. Like,
Hmm.
I I really do want to know what's going on with Daniel and Helen. I think there is going to be another time jump. Um, I am prepared to let Silo 17 lie till season 4 because the thing is, I can
We at
say,
least need a check in, at least a
well,
check in.
no, but the thing is, I can say that, Alicia, because I know season 4 is going to happen.
Sure, next summer.
Yeah, next summer. Um, I I really do sort of feel that I really do sort of feel that you can start to see the ways in which the two timelines come together, the way in which the two halves of the story are going to start to fit together, which will be that, and I'm not saying all of this will happen next week, I'm saying it will happen over the course of the remaining 11 episodes. But it will be the people in Silo 18 finding out what happened to Daniel, Helen, Pestenson, etc. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I think I've got a much better sense after this week of how the whole thing, how the two halves of the story are going to fit together.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have more concrete predictions for the times part of the story. We're not calling it the before times anymore.
It's just the
the
times.
the D-Day times part of the story. Um and so I'll let that lie. I think we're not going as far into Dust with the other story. There's a thing that happens halfway through Dust that I thought would be a natural season finale. I don't think we're going to make it that far, but who knows? There's a whole hour left and a lot could happen in that time. So I don't know. I'm up in the air about what's going to happen in 18 and I want to see more of 17. There's some specific things that I want to start to see happening and I hope there's at least teases of that, but it's going to be a packed episode for just 1 hour. So I'm just really excited to see how it all plays out and see if we can. So, Luke, you and I can't fully tell how long we've been recording because what listeners at home don't know is that we've had several technical problems in this. So we've been recording for
Yeah,
like
this
all
is
night.
yeah this has been something of an epic recording. Just to give you an idea, listeners, we're recording this on Tuesday the 26th. Or we started recording this on Monday the 25th of August. We're going to finish recording it on Tuesday the 26th at 20 to 1 in the morning
In the UK. So
in the
yeah, it's
UK.
20 to 2 in my time. Yeah, no, this was so a lot of that recording time is just us lost trying to make our computers and the connection work. But I think it might end up being our longest episode once it's all stitched together though.
Well, I mean, come on, a lot
Yeah,
happens.
I mean, it's the biggest one. It deserves it. So we'll see what we come back with in the finale. There's just one episode remaining this season for Silo, but not for us, because as Luke mentioned, we'll be back with the season wrap and final mailbag as well. And obviously, after that, we will be going back to our Dune stuff, our Dune coverage leading into that movie, the end of the year. But Luke, do you want to tell people what we're doing in January?
Yes, so we will be doing another show that on Apple. We will be doing the Apple adaptation of William Gibson's I always get
Neuromancer.
Neuromancer. And is this the same setup as Silo, Alicia? You've read the book and I haven't, or is this we either of us have read
Yeah.
the book?
Yeah, I think well we talked about so yeah, we'll do I've read the book, you haven't. So I'll do something with we I might tweak just for ease of recording the format for the book club, but we'll be doing coverage with there which Abby's in Tokyo, and so is that book set. So, and she's read it before. So that we should be some interesting conversations, and I'll do some lore dives into the wider world, including stories like Johnny Mnemonic and such, where the technology and stuff comes up. So yeah, it'll be a very similar but slightly tweaked setup compared to this. But I'm excited about it. This is like or cyberpunk. It's also another like sci-fi noir type thing, and on Apple. So I imagine that a lot of people like Silo might like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we're still in silo mode now, and we want to hear your thoughts and theories. Please send them to woolshiftustpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find that linked in the show notes. And emails that we get before we record the finale episode, we'll include there as we've been doing here. But then we will have a full mailbag and season wrap probably about a week after the finale to give people time to process and share their thoughts and us to process and all of that. So, for your emails, book spoilers are okay, but then those elements will be discussed in the book club episodes. And you can also jump into our discussion on the Discord, the Lorehounds Discord. You'll find linked in the show notes. There are separate spoiler chats per episode there in the Silo forum, plus a separate chat for book discussions with full spoilers. Wade into those waters with care. But if you want all of those spoilery discussions in podcast form, you'll find a link to the Wool Shift Dust book club in the show notes, where you can catch up on my and Abby's full book spoiler conversations, including we covered the books in multiple parts for most of them, plus the Silo short stories, plus breakdowns of the episodes to date with special deep dives per episode for these past 2 seasons. But also, Luke, you have also appeared on other episodes with me there. For example, talking about every Christmas we do a Dickens Christmas.
Yes, we do, and we've done that for 3 years now, and we've already got the fourth. The fourth is already in
looming
planning
soon.
Yeah, it's somewhat looming. So yeah, there are a series of holiday specials where we look at Christmas-based short stories by Dickens, and we also look at different adaptations of A Christmas Carol. Because 3 years ago, was it 3 years? 2 years ago, I absent-mindedly suggested that we might want to do a Christmas special looking at adaptations of A Christmas Carol, and we found out there were about 70 million of them.
Well, I mean, I think we knew that, but I don't think you realize, I think you've learned now when you suggest something to me, I'm going to run all the way with it and drag you along.
And you know what? I've enjoyed every minute of the journey, so there's no problem.
Yeah. And there's I like to do Spooktober specials as well. So you'll find Spooktober specials dedicated to Frankenstein, witches, vampires. This year it's going to be medieval werewolves. So that's an exclusive. I haven't told anyone yet, but now you know. So all of that in the book club, plus been wading into extra Doom prequel books coverage there, Hugh Howey's other short stories. But right now, obviously, the focus is on these weekly Silo spoiler deep dives. This week's special topic is Inside Silo 1. So we'll be outlining the history of Silo 1 up to the point of Juliet's timeline, how it's different in the show, and what it looks like there. And I think in terms of, for Luke and the other show onlys, based on the finale title, I will say I strongly suspect that we will get at least an introduction to the show version of Silo 1 in the finale. I think also that's fair to say after the way this last episode ended with Daniel and company being ushered into it. So, yeah, I think we will finally get a glimpse inside.
Nice. I hope so. I hope so.
So for anyone who wants the full subscription, you can find that Supercast and Patreon options in the show notes. They are mostly the same content per feed. Check the pricing options based on what you use. Yeah, Apple and Patreon do not play nicely together. I'll just say that. It tends to be the most expensive combination. So you might want to consider Supercast if you're an Apple user. And thank you to our new Silazins since last week, Rosalinda MG, Russell S, Sharif, and Derek F. Welcome to the book club, and thank you so much for your support. But if you're not interested in all those extra episodes that I said, you just want the silo content for a specific season or seasons and the books, you can pick and choose the seasons of your choice in the season pass options, separately linked in the show notes, Supercast and Patreon options. Obviously, the more seasons you combine, the higher the discounts. That's just a one-time fee for just those episodes and not the rest. Luke, where else can people find you?
So they can find me on Blue Sky at Luke Middup, and several people have, so the more the merrier for that. And I do a podcast with two friends from uni, Will Cooling and Simon Alvey. We talk about all things British politics, international politics, sport, culture, and whatever else we feel like talking about. We release once a month. I think I am due to be recording with them on Sunday, I think, although that's also when we're recording the finale, so I might have to move that around, but that's fine.
Oh, okay, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also find me on Blue Sky, and I've been dabbling on Threads. Find both of those linked in the show notes. And you can find me, especially on the Lorehounds parent podcast, where they just wrapped up the House of the Dragon season, and we just wrapped up the Vampire Lestats not too long ago. And David and Jean have started weekly Lanterns coverage. That's 2 episodes in as we're recording and going very well, I would say. We also recently did Spider-Man Brand New Day shortly after this, or no, I guess maybe before this. We'll see how it works out, because obviously we're recording this episode days before we'll release it. But anyway, there will be an X-Men 97 season 2 episode, Ted Lasso check-in coming up. And you can find all that in the lorehounds.com link, where you'll also find episodes for the affiliates in the network, like Dungeons and Do-Rags. It's also starting Lanterns coverage. Never Mind the Music, where psychology meets music. Properly Howard, which just released an episode about the movie Obsession. And Cosmere Corner, the newest podcast on the block. Also a video option going into basically chunks of chapters at a time into the Cosmere Brandon Sanderson books, starting with the Mistborn books. And I am reading along and really enjoying my ride. So definitely, I recommend Cosmere Corner. Final thoughts before we go, Luke?
No, I have no final thoughts. My final thought
Thoughts
is
of bed.
my final thought is I want to go to bed.
Okay. And then tomorrow, let's go mushroom cloud picking.
Yeah, exactly.
Explosion sound.